Republican presidential hopefuls met at the CNN-sponsored debate. Some of the harshest exchanges were between Donald Trump and Marco Rubio.
I watched him repeat himself 5 times 4 weeks ago.
I saw you repeat yourself 5 times 5 seconds ago.
With 3 consecutive primary season wins, Trump may have had the most to lose. With no victories yet, Rubio may have had the most to gain. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Houston.
Apple is asking a federal judge to vacate an order to unlock the iPhone of a terrorist, saying the FBI is overreaching. ABC's Aaron Katersky has the story.
Fighting a court order to help unlock Syed Farook's iPhone, Apple said the FBI is seeking a dangerous power. Apple said Congress has not authorized forcing a company to undermine the security and privacy interests of its customers. While the government said just this once and just this phone, Apple said if the court order stands, it is hard to conceive of any limits on the orders the government could obtain in the future.
Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval is asking that his name be removed from consideration for a Supreme Court nomination after a report surfaced that President Obama was considering him, possibly to persuade congressional Republican leaders to consider any of his nominees. The Academy apparently doesn't want you to go to the bathroom during the award show. Oscar producers are promising changes in the order of awards and won't reveal when the marquee trophies go out. This is ABC News.
ABC Radio presents Made in America with David Muir, brought to you by Advance Auto Parts.
It's the blue and yellow can, a household staple made right here in America. WD-40.
Everybody has a can in their house.
Orlando Moreno at WD-40 headquarters in San Diego. The secret formula, nearly the same since it was invented more than 60 years ago.
It's a special phase.
CEO Gary Ridge, business doubling in the last 10 years, now sold around the country and around the world in 176 countries. This is World News Tonight's David Muir. That's Made in America.
How do most people discover the blends of tea they like? Trial and error. But at Twinings of London, we believe in just trial. That's because we have 9 master blenders traveling the world to find the best teas, spices, and herbs for the perfect balance of taste, flavor, and aroma. With over 50 great tasting varieties, we wouldn't mind if you tried them all. Twinings of London. Teas that fit your every mood. Available at Target, QFC, or TwiningsUSA.com.
Despite all the warnings about the dangers of distracted driving, a new study finds many people still do it. ABC's Scott Goldberg has the latest.
We know it's bad, and drivers admit it when they're surveyed by groups like the AAA Safety Foundation, and yet more than 2/3 of us still use phones while we drive, or we're impaired, drowsy, speeding, running red lights, and even if we're using things that are hands-free, the foundation's Peter Kissinger says
more complicated processes, including, for example, doing voice-activated texting from the vehicle is extremely distracting and can be extremely dangerous.
Bottom line, be more careful, because more than 30,000 Americans die in car crashes every year. Scott Goldberg, ABC News.
The Twitterverse is lighting up with fans tweeting joy over the reunion of Uncle Jesse, Deej, and the rest of the gang from Full House and the new Netflix series Fuller House. The show, which was rebooted to fast forward to the present, also got a rebooted theme. Carly Rae Jepsen says she was thrilled to sing Everywhere You Look. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. During a community forum last night about levies and bonds, School District Superintendent Alex Apostle took a question about the likelihood of replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School.
I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school, and our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million in total. One of the things that Sally and I have talked about, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers.
Instead, Apostle voiced support for making improvements at all Shelton school facilities. The superintendent said he would know more once he receives direction from the Shelton School Board, which is meeting at 8 tomorrow morning for a retreat at the district's administrative offices at 200 South 1st Street. The meeting is open to the public. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing 51-year-old man. Greg M. King was reported missing by his mother on February 14th. King was last seen on February 4th in the 300 block of Sunnyside Road near the shack where he lived. The Sheriff's Office says at the time he indicated he was possibly going fishing in the area. King is described as 6'2" and weighs 155 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. You can see pictures of him on our website at iFIBER1Newsradio.com. If you know of King's whereabouts or have any information regarding his disappearance, contact the sheriff's office or call 911. Cascade Natural Gas crews working on relocating a natural gas line will cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton beginning Monday. Doug Adamson, spokesman for the State Department of Transportation, says drivers on South 1st Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning Monday morning. Delays caused by alternating one-way traffic could last from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. until the project is complete. The work is anticipated to continue until late March. As an alternative route, Shelton City Engineer Mike Michael says motorists can take Johns Prairie Road to State Route 3 to Bremerton. Researchers say drugs that have contaminated water near sewage treatment plants have found their way into Puget Sound salmon. Drugs ranging from cocaine to ibuprofen to Prozac, along with toxins that include insect spray, have shown up in the tissue of juvenile Chinook. NOAA environmental toxologist Jim Metter says the problem could be related to processes used at the wastewater treatment plants. Metter says the results were based on samples tested in September 2014 in the Bremerton and Tacoma areas. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
Science Fantastic with Professor Michio Kaku. Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 6 on iFIBER One News Radio.
Because of the fact there's been a revolution in paleontology with regards to how we view the dinosaurs. When I was a kid, we learned the dinosaurs were cold-blooded, lumbering creatures, kind of dim-witted. They didn't nurture their young, and that's why they went extinct. They were simply too stupid. Well, now we realize that we were pretty much wrong in how we view dinosaurs.
Wonder what the outrageously energizing experience of Mountain Dew Kickstart is like? Well, it's like a combo of 3 awesome things. Dew, juice, and caffeine rebooting your entire personal operating system.
Mountain Dew Kickstart is in position for consumption. Release the Mountain Dew Kickstart. Mountain Dew Kickstart released. Experiencing a charge of Mountain Dew Kickstart now. Mountain Dew Kickstart operation successful. Roger that.
Get charged up with Mountain Dew Kickstart, now in 4 energizing new flavors like Midnight Grape. It all starts with a kick.
For iFIBER One News Radio, good Friday morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey at 6:08, and big day yesterday in sports. We had a Gonzaga basketball game for you. Actually, Gonzaga had a game last night. Silas Melson scored a career-high 18, and Sabonis had 17 and 17 boards as Gonzaga beat San Diego 82-60 last night. The season closer is tomorrow right here on iFIBER One News Radio against BYU. They'll have an opportunity to earn at least a share of the conference title. As I mentioned, tomorrow night, 4:40 the pregame, and the WCC tournament starts on the 3rd. Washington State cruised past Colorado 83-70 last night. Washington passed Utah 73-60 last night. Mariners news, Robinson Cano feeling pretty darn good, about 100%. He is also taking exception. I love these stories. You know, they find these stories where a friend tells news sources. Mm-hmm. Well, a friend said, a quote, friend told a New York newspaper that Robinson Cano rused the day that he came to Seattle. And that's not true.
No, well, that's not what he said. That's not what Cano said on his interview just yesterday. They were talking about, is he ready to go? And he said, yeah. So I don't know.
Who are these friends that they just make up these things?
Somebody from high school that he got beat out on the baseball team or something.
I'll show him. Just amazing.
Wait around till he's big time.
So Robinson Cano is happy to be a Mariner, and he's happy to get underway here in just a little bit. Golf news, Honda Classic going on in Florida. Gig Harbor's Kyle Stanley tied for 80th with a 3 over par, 73, 8 strokes behind the co-leader Sergio Garcia and Michael Thompson. He tees off at 10:25 today, our time. 6:11 at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Time for us to move to the weather forecast. And here's Carol with the weather forecast.
Good morning. It's cloudy this morning, 36. We're going to have some rain coming our way this afternoon and into the night. It's supposed to clear up by tomorrow, but it's going to be a little more cloudy than sun with a high of 54 tomorrow. Today, maybe we'll get to high of 58 with the rain. And right now it's 36.
Now, from the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
.611 here at iFIBER ONE, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey, along with Carol Gardner. Friday.
TGIF.
Remember that night? Friday nights was TGIF night on ABC, and they had Family Matters and Perfect Strangers.
I was not watching TV during that.
Oh, you missed Perfect Strangers with Balki Bartokomous, and then Full House.
I didn't watch it.
They've got Fuller House coming out shortly on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The whole gang's back, except for
the twins,
Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Yeah. It would have been weird anyways, because the whole series, there was always just one of them on the screen.
Right.
So they're not going to, although that could have been a funny running gag, is to have half the scenes with Mary-Kate and half the scenes with Ashley. School District Superintendent Dr. Alex Apostle will be on the radio with us today. He was last night in front of a large crowd of folks talking about bonds and levies, and the question came up, well, what about a new school? What about a new high school?
Right.
And he says, well, it costs like up to $80 million to build a school. So we have to be respectful to our taxpayers.
Right.
It's pretty interesting.
And the school board is having a retreat this Saturday. So he said he'll learn more about that after the weekend.
All right. So he's coming on the air at 8:15. Thurston County Commissioner Bud Blake at 7:15.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
I'm Ari Wolf with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. NFL Network's Rand Getlin reports that Colin Kaepernick's agents have requested permission from the 49ers to seek a trade, according to a source. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that in order for Kaepernick to look into a trade without losing his guaranteed money, he needs written permission from the Niners, and he does not have it yet. Meanwhile, John Elway said Thursday that he's not pushing Peyton Manning to make a decision on retirement. Elway will meet with the quarterback again in 7 to 10 days. Manning is due $19 million in salary on March 9th. More than 300 prospects will participate in the 2016 Combine in their quest to achieve their NFL dreams. Individual drills for running backs, offensive linemen, and special teams begin Friday, and you can catch it right here on NFL Network beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Any Napa guy knows, and science proves, the best minivan is the one you've already got. Part kid transporter, part drywall mover. Who cares if the faux wood grain is a little faded? That was a platinum package option in 1987. With over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep anything on the road. Because it's not old, it's vintage. That's Napa know-how.
Control, do you like mortgages? Negative, over. Do you like rockets? Affirmative, over. Do you like rocket mortgages? I'm listening, over. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that turns the entire mortgage process into a fast, powerful, completely online experience. Copy that, QL1. I'm going to go ahead and push this button in 3, 2, 1. Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS Consumer Access.org number 33.
You're listening listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio, AM.
Good morning to you. 6:15. So as I mentioned, Thurston County Commissioner Bud Blake in about an hour here on the radio. Going to talk about the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, the BOO, as he likes to refer to it. Dr. Alex Apostle at 8:15 and Don Pennell with Radio Real Estate at 8:45. Good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE News Radio. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. We're looking at some news notes from around the Northwest there.
We are. We have some stuff out of Olympia. State lawmakers have passed a transportation budget bill that includes money to raise salaries of underpaid and unhappy Washington State Patrol troopers. The bill would require trooper salaries to be competitive with certain local police departments.
I have friends in the State Patrol, both in front of the badge, meaning officers, and behind the badge, folks in like the offices of the State Patrol. And all of them are like, this is not good. If there's not some movement in the State Patrol and these money thing. So when they graduate,
so you have a friend that you have a friend that is telling
a friend.
You this.
Yeah, exactly. Just like my Robinson Cano story, a friend. No, I have heard multiple occasions as graduation happens for the State Patrol.
Right.
Almost as soon as they're done walking down the aisle with their diploma. I don't know if they get a diploma, but you know what I'm talking about. The recruiters are coming after them. Hey, what are you doing? Why don't you come to the city of Seattle, for example? We're hiring 200 new police officers. And oh, by the way, starting is way better than what you're getting with State Patrol. And now Seattle, the folks are already trained. There's going to be a little additional training, right, for Seattle laws, but for the most part, they're trained, they're top-notch, they're the best of the best, and they are being pilfered by cities all over the place because the State Patrol can't. Now, here was my question to one of them that I was talking to yesterday. What is it like in Olympia? Because the State Patrol are on the campus, they're walking around the Capitol, these lawmakers who are not helping them out in any situations, it seems like. Do they look at them? Do they converse with them? It has just got to be so awkward. And I've heard that if nothing happens on this year, mass exodus from State Patrol.
You got to pay for your
you pay for your people.
Yeah, you got to pay for your people. You got to pay for the service. So they passed it. I wonder if it's enough.
The House passed it.
Yeah.
The Senate has not done anything.
Right, but I wonder if it's enough. The bill.
I feel as if, now I can't speak for them on this stuff, but I would say at least some sort of acknowledgement, some sort of, well, it looks, at least we're starting the process.
Yeah, but still, sometimes it's like
a little too
Rubio,
little, too late.
A little too late.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is a tough story, and I'd hate to see State Patrol troopers leave en masse.
Oh, well, yeah.
And go up to, and then people have to move. And the other thing that was brought up that I never even thought of is that a lot of these troopers have such crazy hours that the spouse has a hard time finding a job so they could, if the trooper has to work nights or something, you can't not be there for the kids and stuff. So oftentimes the spouse, man or woman, has to stay home, making it a single income, making it a lot tougher. Whew, oh, my goodness. Thurston County judge declared a mistrial in the manslaughter case of a woman accused of leaving her 18-month-old son alone in a house when he died in a fire. The Olympian reports that the judge determined Ashley Conroy may have given a statement to authorities without having read her Miranda rights. Prosecutors can decide to refile the charges.
Yeah, that was a really...
Was that Steamboat Island story?
Yeah, that was a tough one. And so this is an interesting story.
Okay.
An Arizona family is back home after they were removed from a plane in Bellingham when their son experienced an allergic reaction to dogs aboard a flight.
We were just talking about this week.
Yeah. Christina Fabian tells King TV that some people applauded as they left the plane. The Allegiant airline says the boy was removed on the advice of a doctor.
People applauded as the family left the plane?
I guess because... Maybe, I mean, obviously I wasn't on the plane. I don't know what went on.
So the dog is getting the treatment, the preferential on this?
I guess so. The crew initially allowed the family to change seats, but then later they asked to just get off the plane. So maybe they were making some big complaints. It's really interesting. If you do not have the reaction, the allergy reaction, you do not understand it. It's very hard for you to put yourself into the position of somebody that's suffering from these things.
Allergic reaction. Or
for any type of illness or disease, we have no sympathy. Most of us have no empathy for people when they are experiencing this. And we're like, oh, he's just making it up. Pull up your pants, put your big boy pants
on. Man kid.
Up. I mean, it's I don't have allergies, but you do, and it's pretty brutal.
It is brutal, and I even have mild allergies compared to other folks.
Right, and being on a plane with your ears plugged up, that's one of the worst feelings in the world. It's very, very painful.
So we talked this week on this, service animals and bringing dogs everywhere now. And well, not just dogs, but any kind of animal.
Right.
And then they're allowing them on Amtrak next month. You got to pay a little fee or whatever and make sure they don't stink. But I was talking to people who heard our conversation about this, and I have two stories that are amazing. One is at the mall, Capitol Mall. This lady's walking her dog in the mall. The dog pops a squat in the middle of the mall. The lady keeps walking. So the person I talked to, he goes over to one of the cleaning folks and says, there's dog feces in the middle of the mall. So the lady walks down to the end of the mall and then turns around, has to come back, walks right past the mess that her dog made, doesn't do anything.
Does anybody stop the lady?
That's what I said. I said, well, if I was there.
Of course. Yeah. I'd like
if I was there, I'd shame the lady, film her or something. And Stephanie goes, you wouldn't do that. I go, you're probably right, sweetie. But I can talk about it. Another story. Home Depot. Somebody walking their dog around there. Dog, again, drops trow in the middle of the aisle.
Inside the building?
In the store. I believe, and my, a worker saw this. Ma'am, your dog, can you please? That's your job. What is happening?
I don't know. That's pretty bad. Then it's so the few that always don't pay attention to the respect of everybody else.
It's going to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, it's always how it happens. There's always the few that do that.
I mean, but to then go, oh, that's your job to clean up my dog's poop inside your store.
It's like people who throw their cigarette butts out in the parking lot. Well, that's the parking lot people's job. It's the mentality.
Whoa.
Same mentality.
Look at you with that connection. Never even thought about that one.
Oh.
I guess it's all technically littering in a sense.
Yeah.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? PowerSwabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of PowerSwabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with PowerSwabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try PowerSwabs risk-free, call 1-800-928-7113. That's 1-800-928-7113. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends, family, and coworkers talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-928-7113. That's 1-800-928-7113.
It's the Las Vegas Getaway Giveaway, Saturday nights the 13th and 27th at the Lucky Dog Casino. 2 lucky winners will win a trip for 2 to Vegas, baby. Free bingo on Wednesday afternoons beginning at 1, and in the North Fork Grill, prime rib Saturdays from 4 till 9, a special Valentine's Day dinner Sunday, February 14th, minutes north of Shelton on Highway 101. It's the Lucky Dog Casino. From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
6:26 at iFIBER One News Radio. Mary Lynn Foster got the latest in local news.
You have to ask me to guess. I have no idea.
I try to whistle that. It's that's cowboy music, Western.
Oh, man.
No,
you need to go back to the ranch.
I gotta go back and find out.
Okay, I sort of get it now that you've told me, but no.
It's the Western music theme.
So far
it was
off.
a big shootout down in Texas last night.
Yeah, it was.
The debate, we had it on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
We partnered with Salem Radio Network and CNN to bring you the GOP debate last night. What a
mess.
Fracas.
Yeah.
Wow. It was intense at times. Rubio and Cruz, they had to do something to try to knock Donald Trump off his 3-win streak. They got Super Tuesday in just a few days, coming up Tuesday.
But does it do anything other than just create more reality TV?
It was...
I mean, it doesn't really do anything for anybody, does it? You don't learn anything.
Well, that's what I was
wondering. You don't know how they're solving any problems. They're just yelling at each other.
Yeah, and I wonder what people... so H.W. was there. George H.W. and Barbara was there. Jeb, of course, not, because the wounds are still too raw from just dropping out of the race, I would assume.
A friend told you.
That's what a source told me. But I just am wondering what George H.W., he was the vice president for a very long time under Reagan, and then he was himself the president for 4 years. What he's thinking watching this event, and if this helps people decide, if all this just kind of yelling back and forth, and both sides yell, I get it, but there was just a lot of yelling going on.
Well, it depends, and it depends on what news outlet you read,
Sure.
saying either Trump was the winner or Trump was not the winner. But it definitely all talks about how Rubio was really zinging him.
He had to zing. He had to do something he's got likelihood not to win Florida, his home state. I mean, you cannot do that.
No.
And you can't not win a state and still think that you're going to be a good candidate for the nation.
Right.
It was like these two guys were flies buzzing around King Kong, or like they were the planes flying around King Kong when he was on top of the Empire State Building, and they're just trying to knock him down. But he says one thing, and both of them just shut up, and it's hard to respond. It was an amazing debate. At the very end, poor Ben Carson, he didn't get any questions.
I know. And so I sort of wonder, I mean, it must, whether you like the guy or not, it's got to be really hard to be there and then you get nothing.
They asked probably Trump 3-4 questions in a row. Mr. Trump.
Right.
Mr. Trump in a row. And now Kasich, he gets a little more play, but Carson wasn't getting nothing.
Right.
And so he says, you haven't asked me about taxes. I'm one of the 5 people running I have poll numbers. You've invited me to this.
Right.
You didn't ask me about taxes. You didn't ask me about Israel. You didn't ask me about anything. So he kind of went off on a couple minutes addressing each of those. But it's, they're all part of the process.
Right. And, and it's all, so the media runs these, debates, really. So are we really learning about the candidates, or are we only learning about what certain people want us to learn about?
Well, I think that's how it always is.
I know, but,
Voters in the 12 Super Tuesday states had a lot to look at last night. Jim Ryan says last night's debate had plenty of fireworks.
Donald Trump stepped onto the debate stage with new polling numbers that provided him some ammunition against Ted Cruz.
I'm beating him in virtually every poll. I'm tied in Texas, by the way, which I shouldn't be, but I think I'll...
Did the CNN-sponsored event change any minds?
Oh, man. Well, we'll have to find the rest of that clip in a second. It is news time now anyways. Mary Lynn Foster has it. Darn it. Why does this page reset itself? I figured that out. Mary Lynn Foster now. We'll talk about sports in a little bit. Steve Kramer has a fishing report for us, and Chuck Devine goes skiing in mere moments.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com, 427-4489.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Mary Lynn Foster. During a community forum last night about levies and bonds, School District Superintendent Alex Apostle took a question about the likelihood of replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School.
I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school, and our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million in total. One of the things that Sally and I have talked about, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers.
Instead, Apostle voiced support for making improvements at all Shelton school facilities. The superintendent said he would know more once he receives direction from the Shelton School Board, which is meeting at 8 tomorrow morning for a retreat at the district's administrative offices at 200 South 1st Street. The meeting is open to the public. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing 51-year-old man. Greg M. King was reported missing by his mother on February 14th. King was last seen on February 4th in the 300 block of Sunnyside Road near the shack where he lived. The Sheriff's Office says at the time he indicated he was possibly going fishing in the area. King is described as 6'2" and weighs 155 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. You can see pictures of him on our website at iFIBER1Newsradio.com. If you know of King's whereabouts or have any information regarding his disappearance, contact the Sheriff's Office or call 911. Cascade Natural Gas crews working on relocating a natural gas line will cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton beginning Monday. Doug Adamson, spokesman for the State Department of Transportation, says drivers on South 1st Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning Monday morning. Delays caused by alternating one-way traffic could last from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. until the project is complete. The work is anticipated to continue until late March. As an alternative route, Shelton City Engineer Mike Michael says motorists can take Johns Prairie Road to State Route 3 to Bremerton. Researchers say drugs that have contaminated water near sewage treatment plants have found their way into Puget Sound salmon. Drugs ranging from cocaine to ibuprofen to Prozac, along with toxins that include insect spray, have shown up in the tissue of juvenile Chinook. NOAA environmental toxologist Jim Metter says the problem could be related to processes used at the wastewater treatment plants. Metter says the results were based on samples tested in September 2014 in the Bremerton and Tacoma areas. For iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
Arch Mechanical. Our name begins with affordable. Affordable refrigeration, cooling, and heating. Whether residential, commercial, or food service equipment, your satisfaction is of utmost importance. And with over 30 years of experience, Arch Mechanical Service is backed by a 30-day labor guarantee. Serving South and West Puget Sound, there is no need to pay for one of those big city technicians. Call 360-229-2139. Arch Mechanical. Our name begins with affordable.
Record-setting night for Curry. Spurs keep rolling, and they feared the beard in Portland. Hi, everybody. Todd Ant reporting on sports. After a tight finish in South Florida, the Warriors took their talents to Orlando with a much easier finish thanks to you-know-who.
Curry pump fake layup. It's up and good, and Curry's got 51 points. First Warrior with 3 50-point games since Rick Barry in 73-74.
On KNBR, Curry made 10 three-pointers and set a league mark with 128 consecutive games with at least 1 3. Golden State knocked off Orlando 130-114. The Spurs also playing back-to-back games as they travel to Salt Lake City.
Out to Parker, left wing 3 for Tony. Trey the end. Tony Parker with a big three-pointer. And the Spurs lead by 16, and Parker's got 16.
On WOAI, San Antonio 96-78 winners over the Jazz. Kawhi Leonard 29. And a big night for the Beard.
Picks up that dribble, goes into a cutting Harden to the rim, layup good. Another 40-point game for Harden.
On KBME, James Harden 46 points, and Houston rallied to beat the Blazers in Portland 119-105. In New Orleans, a solid night for Anthony Davis, who scored 30 but got lots of help from his bench.
Holiday launches a 3 and buries it off the left angle.
On WRNO-FM, Ryan Anderson, Drew Holiday, and Tony Douglas combined for 60 points off the bench. The Pelicans hauled off Oklahoma City 123-119. To the NHL, a stunning victory for Nashville in Chicago.
Chalmerson
Picks the puck up and given back down by Yarncrook to Fisher. And the shot of the score! Beautiful play. Little give and go off the left side. Fisher to Yarncrook.
On 105.2, the game, and the Predators beat the Blackhawks, the third best team in the league, 3-1. In Los Angeles, a late Kings goal sealed the deal.
Carter towards the tops of the circles. He takes a shot, deflected, score!
On KABC, the Kings crowned the Oilers 2-1. Top 25 college hoops, Duke, Indiana, Utah, and SMU all winners. And Chicago White Sox and Bulls minority owner and television sports icon Eddie Einhorn has died. He was 80 following complications from a stroke. Todd Ant, ABC Sports.
The craziness is returning to the kennel.
Wiltshire behind his back with a dribble, and he scores. Got Karnowski to his left, pulls up, shoots, scores, and a foul.
Zags basketball from IMG.
Corner, Nelson driving, baseline, and a two-handed throw down dunk. Oh my goodness, Silas Nelson.
From tip-off to the final buzzer.
And throws it down with two hands.
Follow the action all season long on your home for Bulldogs basketball, the Gonzaga IMG Sports Network.
6:36 at iFIBER ONE News Radio, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. It is Daybreak, and Silas Melson scored a career-high 18 points. Domantas Sabonis had 17, and Gonzaga beat San Diego 82-60 last night. Gonzaga closes the season at BYU tomorrow night with a game will be heard on iFIBER ONE News Radio to earn at least a share of the conference title. If they get the win, we will have the pregame at 4:40. After the regular season wraps up, the WCC tournament starts on the 3rd. Washington State cruised past Colorado 83-70 last night. In collegiate basketball, also Washington passed Utah 73-60 last night. SPSCC basketball getting closer to the playoffs. Sports director Sean Wells has highlights from Wednesday's game on iFIBER ONE News Radio. Mariners news, Robinson Cano feeling pretty darn good, almost at 100%, and taking exception with the reports that have been out recently that he heard that a friend says that he is wishing he didn't ever leave New York, a source close to the matter. Golf news, Honda Classic going on in Florida. Gig Harbor's Kyle Stanley in the middle of it, tied for 80th with a 3-over par 73. Just 8 strokes behind co-leaders Sergio Garcia and Michael Thompson. Tees off today at 10:25 our time. 6:38 at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Carol's got the weather forecast.
Good morning. It's 36. It's cloudy outside. We're going to get some rain this afternoon. We're going to reach a high of 57. The clouds should sort of go away overnight, and then we'll have some sun tomorrow. It's going to be mostly cloudy skies. We'll reach a high of 54. It's not going to be that warm. Sunday, it's going to be rainy, and we'll only reach about 50. Right now, it's 36.
Now, from the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
6:39 at iFIBER ONE News Radio, and a good morning to you. We're looking at some of the news notes from around the Northwest here on iFIBER ONE. Additionally, you can read the reports from last night's open forum there for the school district. Dr. Alex Apostle in front of a large crowd talking bonds and levies. He'll be on the air with us at 8:15. Thurston County Commissioner Bud Blake scheduled to be here at 7:15. State lawmakers have passed a transportation budget that includes money to raise salaries of underpaid and unhappy Washington State Patrol troopers. The bill would require trooper salaries to be competitive with certain local police departments.
A Thurston County judge has declared a mistrial in the manslaughter manslaughter case of a woman accused of leaving her 18-month-old son alone in a house where he died in a fire. The Olympian reports the judge determined Ashley Conroy may have given a statement to authorities without having been read her Miranda rights. Prosecutors can decide to refile charges.
The State House has passed the Democratic supplemental budget proposal, part of which seeks money to reduce homelessness and raise the state's portion of the lowest starting salary for public school teachers to a base minimum there of $40,000 a year. Proposal would provide about $318 million from the state's emergency fund to aid homeless folks, repair damage from last summer's wildfires, and a few other measures.
Investigation into the early release of prisoners over a 13-year period has found that a series of errors and a lack of prioritization or follow-up by several employees at the Department of Corrections was to blame for the agency's failure to quickly fix the error once it was brought to their attention. The report calls for the agency to appoint an outside monitor and changes to the prioritization process for IT issues.
Washington state lawmakers considering a pilot project that would allow more controlled burning in order to reduce the severity of wildfires. Capitol Press reports that the bill would give state land managers more flexibility to permit controlled burns in central and eastern Washington to make forests more resilient. The measure's sponsor says the forests have grown chock full of brush that fuels these catastrophic wildfires.
A donor to the Columbia Humane Society has filed a lawsuit against the nonprofit after earmarked donation for an on-site spay and neuter clinic that was never built. The Daily News in Longview reports that Thad Smith filed the suit this month and says he donated $25,000 to the Humane Society for the clinic. Since the clinic wasn't built, Smith is asking for his money back. The board director, Lori Furman, says the board hasn't struck down the idea of opening the clinic in the future, but Smith, who has donated almost $70,000 to the nonprofit, says he isn't upset with the Humane Society. He just wants his money spent on the clinic or not at all.
Makes sense.
Well, it depends. Did you give it to the Humane Society in general, or did you specify that it had to go to the clinic? And is there a contract?
Well,
once you give the money, do you get to say what's done with it?
Even if you write in the memo line for clinic?
I don't know. It depends. If you give somebody something, you get to say, unless you've already had talks. Do they have a handshake? I'm not sure.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Living the country life on iFIBER 1.
Listening to Daybreak on iFIBER 1 Newsradio.
iFIBER Communications, the fastest internet provider in Washington State, has just opened their doors here in Mason County and got their first local customers signed up. James, tell me about your experience.
From the first time I learned of iFIBER to the day I got hooked up, even now, I felt that my fiber connection and the service given to me have been the #1 most important job to every member of the iFIBER team. And not just because I was first in line with my nose pressed up to the glass waiting for a company to take my money.
What differences have you noticed?
I get what I pay for. With non-fiber solutions, you're paying up to the top and never get a constant number anywhere near that top. With fiber, you certainly do. With iFIBER, you get it at a competitive and affordable price.
Why should others sign up for iFIBER Internet?
Well, iFIBER has made a commitment to Mason County. They're working hard to bring fast speeds to everyone at an affordable price. And now with phones and television, your bill will be all in one place with no hidden fees or sudden price changes to surprise you month to month like other all-in-one service providers.
Get signed up for iFIBER Communications today by calling 360-427-4000 or visit iFIBER.tv for more information.
Living on an acreage provides 4-H opportunities for kids interested in animals. Hi, I'm Jody Henke. Before you jump into an animal project, do some research and know your child's abilities as you're living the country life.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. You can find more information on today's topic and from previous shows by visiting us online at livingthecountrylife.com. We'll return to the show after these messages.
He's done 3 tours and now he's saving his dad's farm. Do you know a farmer veteran like that? We're inviting you to share their story. Successful Farming Magazine and Grasshopper Mowers are teaming up to acknowledge and thank farmer veterans for their service. This new initiative is called From Fighter to Farmer. Enter any veteran farmers you know in our contest at agriculture.com/fighter to farmer. Explain the veteran's military experience and farming operation, along with the involvement they have in your community. 3 veterans will receive a combination prize package of $5,000 and a vacation to Nashville. One lucky winner will also receive a $10,000 gift certificate to spend at Grasshopper Mowers. No purchase necessary. Open to legal residents of the 40 contiguous United States and D.C. 13 years and older. Begins February 1st, 2016 and ends April 30th, 2016. Subject to official rules at agriculture.com/fighter to farmer rules. Void in Alaska, Hawaii, and where prohibited. Sponsor Meredith Corporation. From Fighter to Farmer is brought to you by Grasshopper Mowers. Enter any veteran farmer you know in our contest at agriculture.com/fighter to farmer.
I grew up on a small acreage in eastern Iowa. We had a barn and plenty of room for a corral, so my siblings and I raised heifers and steers as our 4-H projects. Club calves were popular projects in my 4-H club and throughout the county. It was a good fit for us. Michelle Neff is an extension educator at Michigan State University. She says if your kids are just starting out in 4-H or FFA and looking for an animal science project, figure out what their interests are by exposing them to different opportunities.
It could be going to a neighbor farm and visiting. It could be going to a fair or going to an exhibition show where animals are being exhibited, and kids get a chance to ask questions and see what happens when you have those type of projects.
Check with your local zoning laws for any restrictions. Be sure you have enough space, the resources, and the time to work with an animal. Every child has different skills and abilities, both physically and mentally, so also make sure he or she will feel comfortable around the animal. Neff recommends starting out with something small.
A goat project or a rabbit project or a poultry project. They're kind of a little bit less expensive, but yet they still need the skills of learning how to feed it, learning how to groom it, how to handle those animals. And once they've mastered some of those skills, or they feel that they want to explore a project that's a little bit more expensive and maybe takes a little bit more knowledge and skills, then they can move into that later down the road.
If you have limited space or are concerned about handling large animals, consider the mini versions. Miniature cattle breeds, horses, and pygmy goats might be a more comfortable and safe option for a young person. What animal science projects are your kids working on? Tell us at livingthecountrylife.com. I'll see you in the country.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. You can find more information on today's topic, share your tips, and post photos by visiting us online.
This is Steve Kramer from Kramer Tackle with this week's fishing report. The steelhead fishing has been downright good this last week, and I expect it to carry on through the weekend unless we get a bunch of rain that punches everything out. I would spend my time concentrating on the Wainuchi or the Satsuma. Both are fairly close to home and are putting out lots of fish. The only problem is they're pretty crowded. If you do go, I would consider drift fishing bait, drift fishing pink worms, throwing spoons, or pulling plugs if you're in a boat. If you want to go for a little longer drive, I would hit the Olympic Peninsula, and I would consider hitting the Sole Duck, the Boga Shield, or the Kalawa. All of them putting out good fish. I know of a 27-pounder that came out of the Sole Duck Saturday and a 24 that came out of the Kalawa on Sunday. So there's big fish being had right now. If you want to hit Southwest Washington, I'd probably spend my time on the Cowlitz. It's been starting to produce decent numbers. So if you can, please take a kid fishing and make sure you check out the recreations page at iFIBER1.com. And don't forget my site, KramerTackleandGuide.com. This has been Steve Kramer. Thanks for listening and good fishing.
Time now for your latest KMAS ski report. One more nice sunny day at the slopes with soft spring conditions. Then the wet weather moves in, but that eventually becomes snow, especially as you get towards the summits of Summited Snoqualmie, West Central, and Alpental. All three of them have action under the lights tonight. May need to be weatherproof for night skiing. Summit East returns on Saturday. Crystal Mountain expecting some snow during the weekend, especially the second part, and they should get at least a few inches. Right now they're on 56 trails, some soft spring snow and some packed powder too. Mission Ridge is skiing on 43 trails, so they're still 100%. Snowpack runs at 4 to 5 feet, and Stevens Pass on all 50 trails, and they groom out most of them to get that nice smooth corduroy that softens when temperatures warm up. Mount Baker on 38 trails covering 1,000 acres. Sun Valley, Idaho, 117 packed powder trails and snow showers Saturday. I'm Chuck Devine for KMAS News Radio 1030 and FM 103.3.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER One News Radio. Good morning to you, Carol.
Good morning to you, Jeff. It's Friday.
Friday indeed.
Cloudy. Might get some sun. Rain tomorrow.
Oh. All right, we were talking just before the break about the Humane Society, the Columbia Humane Society. This guy, over the last 3 years or so, given $70,000 or so. Most recently, a $25,000 check for a spay and neuter clinic. Clinic was never built. He wants his money back.
Right.
The people on the board say, well, hey, we're still thinking about this. He's not mad at them, but he says, if they're not going to build this thing, I want my money back. So we were wondering, can you even do that? Can you give funds and then
say they
be upset when they don't go to what you want? Because what was your example that you just said?
Well, it's like if you give a present to somebody, whatever they do with that present after you give them the gift.
Right.
I mean, you can't really say you will only wear this sweater I gave you on every Friday or,
Sure. So
whatever.
like when gifts go straight to the Goodwill. Is that what you're saying? So we got a message from our senior nonprofit correspondent. I don't know.
Friend of a friend, a source. One of those sources Jeff has.
A source sent me a message. In nonprofit speak, it's called designated funding. And yes, you can be specific about what you would like your funds to, and it doesn't require a contract. In fact, most gift request envelopes that you see if you go out to these places have check boxes, like where do you want this money to go? And if you say, I want it to go to tools, it has to go to tools, not organizational costs.
Well, reading more into the story.
Yes, Carol.
He actually had a proposal presented to him, and it was presented by a former executive who has now been terminated, which nobody knows why exactly, but the clinic was intended to be operational within 12 months. $15,000 of that donation was intended to pay for the clinic's equipment, and the rest would have covered operating costs for the first year. So it was specified, and there was actually a proposal type of a thing.
Whoa,
happening.
so he sat down and listened to someone say, we could have a clinic with your help.
Yes.
We could have a clinic in a month, and it would be able to run for a full year.
Right. So now...
Oh, yeah. Get that money back.
Yeah.
If it's even around, what happened to the last person?
I know. So that person's gone. And interesting.
I like this story. More people in the Seattle area are using public transit to get around. Puget Sound Regional Council found that transit ridership has grown 12% over the years 2010 to 2015, more than doubling the region's population growth in the same time period. Council reports that the 2015 transit year's best, near 180 million riders. Previously, the year before was the busiest. Light rail seeing some biggest increases, near 60% since 2010. Growth comes as service levels dropped about 3% in the last 5 years, mainly in Pierce County. Well, I remember when they were shutting down routes on Pierce County. That is tough for folks to get around if you do that kind of stuff. Community transit north of Seattle. We were just at the airport, right? Because we went to San Diego, and they are working on that sound transit, the light rail. Eventually, you say eventually, it is going to be amazing. And hopefully we can start to see some of it, tinkle its way down to the South Sound region. Poof. I would ride one of those all day. I love
sound transit.
Public transit. No, any transit.
Yeah. Well, you could get into like a carpool situation or something, but people don't leave that early for work. That's just the hard
There's
part.
one person that leaves as early as I do for work, and she won't carpool with me.
But then they don't drive home at the same time. Somebody leaves early for some unknown reason.
It worked out. Old Farmer's Almanac right now. CNBC is a business radio report in a few moments. Good morning to you.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
Longer daylight hours seem to make everyone a little more cheerful. As we leave the year's darkest months behind, we share some more good news from the Old Farmer's Almanac. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac radio report for Friday, February 26th, the 57th day of the year. Comedy legend Jackie Gleason was born 100 years ago, and country music icon Johnny Cash would have turned 84 today. You've surely noticed the days growing longer recently, and the rate of increase will only pick up speed in the weeks to come. That's good news for those who struggle with depression brought on by a deficit of light. And here's more good news. Light therapy, a standard treatment for seasonal depression, appears to be an effective treatment for non-seasonal depression. A carefully controlled study found that light therapy is often as effective as medication. It's much safer than a drug, too, with fewer side effects. That is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Learn more and get our advice of the day online at almanac.com.
All right, good morning to you. It's Daybreak here. Got about 2 minutes till a CNBC Business Radio report.
Any more friends that have sources yet?
No.
You want to tell me about?
You're fine. Here's an interesting story, though, to kind of give us some background on that McCleary decision. If you ever have kind of thought about the McCleary decision and how they got to that point where they says, listen, you guys are going to get fined. Something needs to happen. The Chief Justice of the Washington Supreme Court shared some of the court's thinking behind the McCleary school financing rule this week. Justice Barbara Madsen told TVW's Inside Olympia the court made its 2012 McCleary decision in part because of what happened in 1977. There was a similar case that was decided. She says that in 77, they deferred to the legislature, believing lawmakers would do what the court mandated. Fast forward 30 years, whatever. This time, they retained the jurisdiction over the case because Madsen says they didn't have quite the same amount of confidence in the legislature. If you remember, since 2012, the court has found the state in contempt of court and has imposed a $100,000 per day sanction. And Madsen says she isn't surprised that some lawmakers feel the court has overstepped its bounds. So still, this $100,000 a day thing is still ongoing.
Where is it and where is that going? I mean, is it just, is there an account where all this money's allegedly being deposited into and it's going to be given back to the taxpayers?
They're just thumbing their nose.
Yeah, so it's no consequence.
No, and they're penalizing the taxpayers of the state of Washington who aren't making these decisions. You want to get something done, penalize the people making this decision.
Exactly. Out of their pockets.
$100,000 a day.
Yeah.
You know, what are there, 100 lawmakers? That's $10,000 per person? They'd get some work done quick.
I think they would.
Those bills started coming in. 6:58 CNBC Business Radio report. So we'll see what happens with this. They got 30 more days or so, less than that in the legislative session. It'd be great if they could come up with some sort of fix before the end of the year.
It would be great.
7 o'clock.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
I'm John Lesher, CNBC Radio. Stocks open higher this morning as the price of oil rises to over $34 a barrel. The Dow is up 47 points and Nasdaq higher by 23. Warren Buffett releases his annual letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders tomorrow. Comes after a year when the company's stock price lagged the broader market by the most since 2009. Hilton plans to spin off its timeshare business and most of its real estate business to boost shareholder value. Its shares are up almost 8%. The Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba is in talks with several banks to borrow up to $4 billion to fund expansion plans, including acquisitions. Alibaba has been buying companies in China and abroad. And global stocks rose after China reassured global financial leaders at the G20 summit that it would not devalue its currency again, but look at other means to support its economy. John Lesher, CNBC Radio.
Did you know 1 in 50 people has a brain aneurysm? Every 18 minutes, a brain aneurysm erupts. Half of brain aneurysms result in death. Will it strike you or someone you love? The Brain Aneurysm Foundation is the globally recognized leader in brain aneurysm education, awareness, advocacy, support, and research funding. The Brain Aneurysm Foundation, raising awareness, ending fear. To learn the facts at bafound.org. That's bafound.org.
A Napa guy knows the good thing about an old truck is you can treat it like an old truck, meaning however you want, because the paint job looks best covered in mud. Dents build character, and unpaved roads are unscientifically proven to be 70% more fun. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep that thing running longer, stronger. Because it's not old, it's broken in. That's Napa know-how.
Dave Ramsey helps you handle your money. Weekdays from noon to 3 on iFIBER ONE Newsradio, AM 1030, FM 1033, KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. Gabby Giffords tweeted, "We cannot let this be the new normal," after a shooting rampage at a lawnmower factory in Kansas, the 11th mass shooting in the past week. Investigators believe a restraining order from an ex-girlfriend may have triggered the gunman, who killed 3 colleagues and wounded 14 before he was shot by police. Employees described moments of terror when the gunman was still lurking in the hallways.
Robot operator decided to look down the hallway and he got shot. And we were just all taking off running because, that's what you do when you think there's a fire in the building.
Police are calling the officer who gunned down the shooter a hero. He was first on the scene and fired even though he was being shot at. Officials say there were over 200 people still in the factory and the shooter wasn't done. Marco Rubio says he had to attack Donald Trump at last night's debate because he can't let the party be taken over by a con artist, and the perception of Trump as an invincible force forced him to change his strategy. ABC's Jonathan Karl was there.
Marco Rubio did something he's never done throughout the course of this entire campaign. He took the fight directly to Donald Trump, and you saw in that debate Trump getting attacked for things that have not come up over the course of 7-8 months of this campaign. The failed Donald Trump University, the fact that he's been accused of using illegal immigrants to build Trump Tower, much more. These were issues that have not been uttered by any of the candidates, and suddenly they were on full display in the debate. The question is it too late?
The Revenant, The Room, and Spotlight are among the movies getting lots of pre-Oscar buzz. Chris Rock has dropped few hints about his monologue in the face of the diversity flap. He's only tweeted a photo of himself in a spacesuit, a reference to The Martian. Instagram CEO Kevin Systrom used his audience with Pope Francis to discuss the power of images to unite people across borders and cultures. Surgeons at the Cleveland Clinic performed the first successful uterus transplant in America, but they say it'll be at least a year before the recipient heals. This is ABC News.
Advance Auto Parts knows what makes a car guy a car guy. It's working through the unexpected surprises that spring up with every project. It's character, and it isn't rattled by a little thing like a dead battery, especially when you can get a new one online at advanceautoparts.com and pick it up in store just 30 minutes later. We'll even install it for free, so you can get back to fixing faster. Advance Auto Parts, for guys who love getting under the hood.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Friday's first Endless Apps of 2016 begins now.
Kitchen, we are a go.
That's right. America's favorite guilty pleasure is back. And $10 still gets you endless rounds of your favorite app. Like mozzarella sticks, loaded potato skins, or 8 styles of wings. We're talking endless rounds of the best appetizers on earth.
More endless apps for mankind.
Endless Apps are back at Fridays.
Suck at that.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Mary Lynn Foster. During a community forum last night about levies and bonds, School District Superintendent Alex Apostle took a question about the likelihood of replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School.
I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school, and our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million in total. One of the things that Sally and I have talked about, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers.
Instead, Apostle voiced support for making improvements at all Shelton school facilities. The superintendent said he would know more once he receives direction from the Shelton School Board, which is meeting at 8 tomorrow morning for a retreat at the district's administrative offices at 200 South 1st Street. The meeting is open to the public. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing 51-year-old man. Greg M. King was reported missing by his mother on February 14th. King was last seen on February 4th in the 300 block of Sunnyside Road near the shack where he lived. The Sheriff's Office says at the time he indicated he was possibly going fishing in the area. King is described as 6'2" and weighs 155 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. You can see pictures of him on our website at iFIBER1Newsradio.com. If you know of King's whereabouts or have any information regarding his disappearance, contact the sheriff's office or call 911. Cascade Natural Gas crews working on relocating a natural gas line will cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton beginning Monday. Doug Adamson, spokesman for the State Department of Transportation, says drivers on South 1st Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning Monday morning. Delays caused by alternating one-way traffic could last from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. until the project is complete. The work is anticipated to continue until late March. As an alternative route, Shelton City Engineer Mike Michael says motorists can take Johns Prairie Road to State Route 3 to Bremerton. Researchers say drugs that have contaminated water near sewage treatment plants have found their way into Puget Sound salmon. Drugs ranging from cocaine to ibuprofen to Prozac, along with toxins that include insect spray, have shown up in the tissue of juvenile Chinook. NOAA environmental toxologist Jim Metter says the problem could be related to processes used at the wastewater treatment plants. Metter says the results were based on samples tested in September 2014 in the Bremerton and Tacoma areas. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
Science Fantastic with Professor Michio Kaku. Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 6 on iFIBER One News Radio.
You know, on Science Fantastic, we've had a number of neurologists talking about the incredible breakthroughs. Did you know that using computers, we can actually communicate with the thinking brain? Telepathy, telekinesis, recording memories, photographing a dream, machines that are controlled by the mind.
Ascend Roofing Company in Shelton's on top of it. 868-2730. Roofing work that speaks for itself.
Hey, just a little note to say thank you for the outstanding work that you, Dennis, and especially Jorge and the crew performed for us on our roofing project. On a scale of 1 to 10, we rate it at 10.5. It was a fantastic feeling from start to finish. Your company is a first-class operation and will definitely give your name to all of our friends and family if they're in need of your services.
You could be the next happy customer by calling Ascend Roofing. 868-2730. 7:07 on a Friday morning, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey on Daybreak, AM 1030, FM 103.3, streamed online as well at iFIBER1Newsradio.com, where you can watch the show this morning via our YouTube channel. Silas Melson scored a career-high 18. Domantas Sabonis had 17. Gonzaga beat San Diego last night 82-60. They close out the season at BYU tomorrow night. Opportunity to earn at least a share of the conference title. We'll have that game for you on the radio, pregame at 4:40, and the WCC tournament will start on March 3. Washington State cruised past Colorado 83-70 in women's collegiate basketball. Additionally, Washington over Utah 73-60. South Puget Sound Community College basketball getting closer to the playoffs. Sports Director Sean Wells has highlights from Wednesday's game on iFIBER1Newsradio.com. And in golf news, Honda Classic going on this weekend in Florida. Gig Harbor's Kyle Stanley tied for 80th with a 3-over par 73. Just 8 strokes behind co-leader Sergio Garcia and Michael Thompson. Tees off today for the second round of the game at 10:25 our time. It's 7:09 now at iFIBER One News Radio. And taking a look at the weather forecast is next.
I'm Pearl Gardner. Good morning. It's 32, cloudy. It's going to become rain this afternoon. We're going to reach a high of 57. It's going to rain overnight and then maybe clear up in the morning. We're going to have mostly cloudy skies. We'll reach a high of 54. Sunday, it looks like it's going to rain all day as well. So right now it's 32.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people, you. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
$7:10 at iFIBER ONE Newsradio, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey, along with Carol Gardner. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We've got great guests scheduled to come on in throughout the day. We're likely to have Thurston County Commissioner Bud Blake in a few moments, and then Dr. Alex Apostle in an hour. He was in front of a large crowd of folks last night talking about levies and bonds and the cost associated with building a new high school. The question was brought up. About $80 million these days to build a new school. 8:45 this morning, Don Pinnell's Radio Real Estate will be on the air with us. Looking at some other news notes from around the Associated Press this morning, we have got some stories for you. Here, state lawmakers passed a transportation budget, including money to raise salaries of underpaid and unhappy state patrol troopers. The bill would require trooper salaries to be competitive with certain local police departments. A Thurston County judge has declared a mistrial in the manslaughter case of a woman accused of leaving her 18-month-old son alone in a house when he died in a fire. Olympian reports the judge determined Ashley Conroy may have given statements to authorities without having been read her Miranda rights. Prosecutors can decide to refile charges, but mistrial in that manslaughter case.
The House passed a transportation budget proposal that includes money to raise salaries of underpaid and unhappy Washington State Patrol troopers. The proposal was approved on a 84-13 vote Thursday night. The Senate's transportation plan has not been voted on by that chamber. The pay raises are part of the House bill, which has a number of measures aimed at recruiting new troopers and retaining current ones. A report given to the legislature says troopers often leave for higher paying local law enforcement jobs. The bill is sponsored by Representative Jake Fay Tacoma, would require trooper salaries to be competitive with certain local police departments. So it increases spending by $473 million from the last two-year transportation budget, providing around $16 million to implement the bill.
7:12 here at iFIBER ONE Newsradio, and a good morning to you. Is Arizona family back home after they were removed from a plane up in Bellingham when their son experienced an allergic reaction to dogs on board the flight. Christina Fabian tells King TV that some people applauded as the family left the plane. Allegiant says the boy was removed on the advice of a doctor.
And there's some information on the Inslee released a report on early prison releases. After a nearly 2-month investigation into the early release of the prisoners over a 13-year period, they found a series of errors and lack of prioritization or follow-up by several employees of the Department of Corrections was blamed for the agency's failure to quickly fix the error once it was brought to their attention. 52-page report created by two former federal prosecutors.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
Life changes, and so do your tax deductions. I'm ABC's Richard Davies with today's tax tip. When you do your 2014 tax returns, consider how your life may have changed last year. New York tax accountant Janice Heyman.
Marriage, divorce, having children. There are so many different things. Retiring, another large change in your life.
These may affect the number of deductions you can claim.
The tax professional and the taxpayer need to be in communication with one another about that.
Even if you've had a child or were married on December 31st, you can take that deduction for the entire year. Still confused? The IRS website is a useful source of information.
It's the best source, the best starting point. If you feel you need more information, you could then contact a tax professional who would have access to different tax libraries.
Checking irs.gov is easier than calling. There are often long wait times if you phone the IRS. With today's tax tip, Richard Davies, ABC News.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, I agree. And I'd like to help. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Karen Shade. Together we can give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Stop by our office at 1051 Southeast State Route 3 in Shelton.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC. Have a lost pet to tell you about on iFIBER ONE News Radio. Tucker, a Yorkshire Terrier mix, has gone missing from Jones Road in the Arcadia area of Shelton. Tucker is 6 pounds and 5 years old, gray in color, and has recently been groomed. Tucker is also very timid. If you see Tucker, call his family at 360-427-4399. For more lost and found pets, look under the local tab on iFIBER1newsradio.com.
iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
All right, good morning to you. It's Daybreak, 7:15. I'm Jeff Slakey, along with Carol Gardner. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So the Boston Marathon bombings were 3 years ago, and it's about time that Hollywood makes a movie about it.
As they do with everything.
It's about 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are in Boston getting ready to film some stuff. Mark Wahlberg's in this film. Producers are asking to film at one of the universities attended by one of the attackers. Producers of a Mark Wahlberg movie about the Boston Marathon bombings have asked for permission to film at a university attended by one of the attackers. Spokesman for the University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth tells the Standard Times of New Bedford that school officials want to ask students and other stakeholders before deciding on this. Location scouts for the movie that will be called Patriots Day have also reached out, and I heard about this last week, residents of the Watertown neighborhood where they ended up having that big shootout with the brothers Tamerlan and Zokhar Tsarnaev.
Right.
I don't remember that whole situation that he was running and he was in the boat.
Yeah.
Zokhar was a 19-year-old sophomore at UMass Dartmouth at the time, returned to campus after 2 explosions at the finish line, killed 3 and injured more than 260 people. Sentenced to death, Tamerlan was killed in the shootout. So the first report I heard that said, hey, neighborhood, get ready. You may be hearing some gunfire and explosions and stuff.
So they didn't say what they were doing. They
probably told him it was for the movie, but still, even with that notification being put in that situation, Hollywood builds towns all the time.
Right.
Why can't they just go to a town and not put these people through
What would
this?
you think if you were there? Would you say no?
I would say no. I mean, it's 3 years. They're just, what's the point of this? It's a Mark Wahlberg movie, so it's not like a documentary about the people. It's not going to teach us anything about who these bombers were.
There's going to be
so Mark Wahlberg can make more money.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't just build it. I guess they wanted it so authentic.
I mean, they film in Canada all the time and claim it's America. Can't they go to, they have towns that they build all over the place, probably in Hollywood. These sound studio sets, it just seems like it's a little insensitive.
It does
already.
seem like it, yeah.
No?
Yeah, I agree. It is sort of surprising that they are calling it Patriots Day.
Well, that's when the bombing was.
Yeah, but
that is not a title that I would associate with what
no, me neither.
The movie would be about.
I know, totally.
This morning I was listening to one of my favorite Beatles song, Carol, is "Let It Be."
Is it?
Yep, out of all of them in the world. An acetate, that's a great one. An acetate record cut by the Beatles before the band even hit stardom is going on the auction block. This is a 1962 recording, was made in just one copy and features the songs "Till There Was You." I wonder if that's the music from The Music Man. "Till There Was You." "Hello, Little Girl," been in the loft of Les Maguire, a member of another Liverpool band, Jerry and the Pacemaker. Oh, Les Maguire is probably the guy's name.
I was like, is he French?
I thought that was the name of they got their start in the Cavern Club.
Yeah.
And then there's places like, the names of
businesses. I thought it was Lay McGuire. I thought that was the name of the building. No, it was the guy's name, Les McGuire. Yeah. He was in Jerry and the Pacemakers. Anyways, they found this tape. It is just a 25-centimeter demo record, but they think it'll get about $14,000 when it goes in auction in March 22nd. The group's manager, Brian Epstein, gave it to record company boss George Martin, who signed the band. The editor of Rare Records Price Guides has described this record as the Holy Grail, an item that helped Epstein start the ball rolling towards all that music domination.
Interesting.
That is a pretty good one.
You know, it's sort of funny. They always like find something in somebody's closet or.
I don't even have an attic at my house.
Attic or something. I know it's like. The newer houses really aren't built with the attics where you store stuff up in the attics anymore.
Not like in my, like when the guy was up in the attic in the Goonies or in the attic in National Treasure. Right. And there's every time you go up there, even if it's the middle of summer, it gets really dark and there's lightning. And then you see bears, stuffed bears that you never noticed were there before. And then treasure maps and old records.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think if in like my grandma's house way back when, if we ever went up to the attic, and I
can't think of any attics anymore. We have Don Pinnell actually coming in for Radio Real Estate. Let's see about that. If attics are on the outs.
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff. 7:21 at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Mariners season is coming up before you know it. Business owners have a great opportunity to get involved in the Mariners broadcasts. Mark Tobert will have more information on that in just a second. And it's 7:21 on a Friday morning on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Hey, baseball fans, it's that time of year again to join iFIBER ONE News Radio for Seattle Mariners baseball. Baseball is part of the fabric of summertime in the Northwest, and with people traveling to enjoy outdoor activities like camping, fishing, hiking, and boating, the only place to listen to the Seattle Mariners is on iFIBER ONE News Radio. People ask what they remember about a business when they have a need, and they always remember the name that they hear, the one that is most relevant in their mind. Advertising makes your business relevant and part of the community. Your business can be part of the Mariners broadcast each day or each inning of every game this summer by signing up now. Any business that signs up now to advertise with the Mariners gets up to 300 free scheduled magnets. Call iFIBER ONE News Radio today at 360-426-1030 and sign up to be part of the Mariners broadcast team.
Habitat for Humanity of Mason County invites you to shop their local retail stores in Belfair and in Shelton. At Habitat for Humanity stores, you'll find amazing bargains on discounted home improvement supplies, gently used furniture, and so much more. And when you shop Habitat for Humanity, your dollars are put to work helping to improve, build, and maintain affordable housing right here in Mason County. Habitat for Humanity. Let's build a strong community together.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
So, Jeff.
Yes, 7:23 on a Friday morning, girl.
It is TGIF. But things go on 24/7.
Sure.
And as cybercrime goes on 24/7, the whole Apple federal government thing is still going on.
They talked about that a little bit last night at the debate.
So Apple is charging the federal government is seeking dangerous power through the court system and is trying to trample people's constitutional rights. And so the claims are made in a court filing in Washington, which is the company's first official response to the government's demands that it help the FBI hack into a locked iPhone by one of the San Bernardino shooters. The battle over whether Apple should give the government a way to unlock the phone is likely to create an important precedent and establish new legal guidelines in the policy between national security and digital privacy.
Huh. Interesting. This is not far from over.
No, it's not far from over. And it's interesting because I also read the other day about, I don't remember, but it was one of the big credit card companies, or I think it was, and to pay online, you can take a selfie of yourself.
I saw that. MasterCard.
Okay, so you can take a selfie of yourself And that would be a digitalized version that the computer would recognize, and you could pay with that. That'd be like your, signature or your password. And then also it'd be sort of like, it wouldn't be static, so you would have to blink, so it would know you were a real person versus holding up a picture in front of your camera.
So you're just talking about additional security measures for the phones.
Yeah. So
I heard the other day that you're, so we've got your fingerprints, and those are pretty.
Right.
There's not a lot of. They're all unique. Then your retina scan, I think, is the second best.
I don't know. That's what they say.
And then either you or somebody told me that people's heart deal, like you could do an EKG of someone, and people's EKGs are unique to themselves.
Right. So imagine this phone was locked by the EKG of the person who's no longer living. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then you
have to have ways to get into these phones.
Well, I know. So there is no alleged way they can get into the phone. I mean, that's still the thing that I really don't understand is why do they just don't. And I think I had been reading something also that I guess it's the FBI's proposal was not just to hand the phone over and say, get into this phone, but a proposal to create code to unlock this type of crypt phone stuff. So, I guess the feds seem to be overreaching, according to Apple, and what we've been hearing in the news reports.
So Bill Gates came out in favor of the FBI the other day. Zuckerberg has sided with Apple on this case. Right. More tech giants are still coming out and talking about this. Google has thrown in it's with Apple on this one. Google usually in battle with Apple, right, because of the smartphone stuff, because they make Androids and Apple, yada, yada, yada. But instead of being enemies in this instant, Google is filing what is known of a friend of the court brief on Apple's behalf within the next week. So Google is siding with Apple on this one. And initially, I thought that they would just take the phone to Apple headquarters in Cupertino and say, can you just unlock this for me? But what you're saying is that they have requested of us basically an app,
a code
be created that will unlock all the phones.
Yeah, that just the FBI can have.
See, that's a bit suspect for me.
Yeah, that's way suspect, and I do not agree with that at all.
I just don't get how they can build these. So these phones have more computing power
than our desktops, probably.
Than our desktops, but then way more computing power than what put Neil Armstrong on the moon. Like that kind of. When you think about it that way. And they didn't sit around in their meetings and go, boy, you think we should have a way to get in to these in case they're locked? Nah. People won't forget their passcodes. What does that conversation happen?
I bet they obviously had that conversation.
And they decided not to do anything about it.
Or they do have it and they're just, not letting it out. Because, I have a remote way to unlock my phone if it gets locked. So I can't imagine. Unless those people, the Bernardino people, put their own software on the phone and, crypted it itself.
Yeah, because it was a county phone. It wasn't his.
Yeah. So that is interesting. And it's going to continue. And it's going to, whatever does happen, it's going to set the precedence on who gets what in the future.
728. Salt Lake City in the news this morning. The law could be gunning for drones in Utah. Lawmakers are considering legislation that would allow emergency responders to shoot drones out of the sky if the flying gizmos get in their way. State Senator Wayne Hopper says his bill would also allow officers to take less extreme measures like jamming a drone's control signal. Oklahoma considered a proposal last year that would have allowed property owners to shoot down drones, but that failed to pass. So this would be if we heard this story, actually, didn't we? Up in Seattle, there was a fire and fire crews. Oh, no, it was in California. So there was a huge fire on I-5 spanning both sides down in California, and people had their drones out there to get awesome drone footage. And it impacted the way the firefighters could do their job.
Right.
The fire burned. So this, I guess, is in response to that, and they could then shoot down the drones and be worried if they're doing something improper. And the drones are there to kind of watch them. It's like turning off a police body cam.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Nope, technical difficulties.
I mean, the whole drone issue is not going to go away also because, we're thinking of the packages for presents or for dropping off, Amazon. But then also there's going to be something maybe coming out in FFA reauthorization bill about drones and how you can use them for news journalists. So
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Computer stuff.
Like Tech Tuesday. Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com 427-4489.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, I'm Mary Lynn Foster. During a community forum last night about levies and bonds, School District Superintendent Alex Apostle took a question about the likelihood of replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School.
I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school, and our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million in total. One of the things that Sally and I have talked about, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers.
Instead, Apostle voiced support for making improvements at all Shelton School facilities. The superintendent said he would know more once he receives direction from the Shelton School Board, which is meeting at 8 tomorrow morning for a retreat at the district's administrative offices at 200 South 1st Street. The meeting is open to the public. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing 51-year-old man. Greg M. King was reported missing by his mother on February 14th. King was last seen on February 4th in the 300 block of Sunnyside Road near the shack where he lived. The Sheriff's Office says at the time he indicated he was possibly going fishing in the area. King is described as 6'2" and weighs 155 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. You can see pictures of him on our website at iFIBER1newsradio.com. If you know of King's whereabouts or have any information regarding his disappearance, contact the Sheriff's Office or call 911. Cascade Natural Gas crews working on relocating a natural gas line will cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton beginning Monday. Doug Adamson, spokesman for the State Department of Transportation, says drivers on South 1st Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning Monday morning. Delays caused by alternating one-way traffic could last from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. until the project is complete. The work is anticipated to continue until late March. As an alternative route, Shelton City Engineer Mike Michael says motorists can take Johns Prairie Road to State Route 3 to Bremerton. Researchers say drugs that have contaminated water near sewage treatment plants have found their way into Puget Sound salmon. Drugs ranging from cocaine to ibuprofen to Prozac, along with toxins that include insect spray, have shown up in the tissue of juvenile Chinook. NOAA environmental toxologist Jim Metter says the problem could be related to processes used at the wastewater treatment plants. Metter says the results were based on samples tested in September 2014 in the Bremerton and Tacoma areas. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
Gillis Auto Center in Shelton, a full-service dealership and growing daily. Our new general manager, Todd Huber, has over 40 years' experience in dealership operations. We've reorganized our service team by hiring Chris Baez as our service manager. Chris brings a wealth of technical knowledge and customer service to our team. Our Gillis service and parts departments are open 6 days a week. Experience the all-new Gillis Auto Center in Shelton at the City Center Matlock exit and 24/7 at GillisAutoCenter.com.
Record-setting night for Curry. Spurs keep rolling, and they feared the beard in Portland. Hi, everybody. Todd Ant reporting on sports. After a tight finish in South Florida, the Warriors took their talents to Orlando with a much easier finish, thanks to you-know-who.
Curry pump fake layup. It's up and good. And Curry's got 51 points. First Warrior with 3 50-point games since Rick Barry in 73-74.
On KNBR, Curry made 10 three-pointers and set a league mark with 128 consecutive games with at least 1 3. Golden State knocked off Orlando 130-114. The Spurs also playing back-to-back games as they travel to Salt Lake City.
Out to Parker, left wing 3 for Tony. Trey the end. Tony Parker with a big three-pointer. And the Spurs lead by 16, and Parker's got 16.
On WOAI, San Antonio 96-78 winners over the Jazz. Kawhi Leonard 29. And a big night for the Beard.
Picks up that dribble, goes into a cutting. Harden to the rim, layup good. Another 40-point game for Harden.
On KBME, James Harden 46 points, and Houston rallied to beat the Blazers in Portland 119-105. In New Orleans, a solid night for Anthony Davis, who scored 30 but got lots of help from his bench.
Holiday launches a three and buries it off the left angle.
On WRNO-FM, Ryan Anderson, Drew Holiday, and Tony Douglas combined for 60 points off the bench. The Pelicans hold off Oklahoma City 123-119. To the NHL, a stunning victory for Nashville in Chicago.
Hjalmarsson picks the puck up and given back down by Yarncroke to Fisher. And the side of the score! Beautiful play! Little give and go off the left side. Fisher to Yarncroke.
On 105.2, the game, and the Predators beat the Blackhawks, the third best team in the league, 3-1. In Los Angeles, a late Kings goal sealed the deal.
Carter towards the tops of the circles. He takes a shot, deflected, score!
On KABC, the Kings crown the Oilers 2-1. Top 25 college hoops, Duke, Indiana, Utah, and SMU all winners. And Chicago White Sox and Bulls minority owner and television sports icon Eddie Einhorn has died. He was 80 following complications from a stroke. Todd Ant, ABC Sports.
The Dave Ramsey Show, where common sense meets dollars and cents.
Patrick in Texas says, my wife thinks we should have an emergency credit card. How can I explain to her that this is a terrible idea? Well, the last time on earth that you need to go into debt at 18% interest would be at a time when your family has an emergency. What you need is money. If you had $20,000 set aside for an emergency fund, you wouldn't need an emergency credit card, right?
The Dave Ramsey Show, weekdays from noon to 3 on iFIBER ONE Newsradio. .37 at iFIBER ONE News Radio, AM 1030 and FM 103.3. Good morning to you. I'm Just Like E on a Friday morning. Silas Melson scored a career-high 18. Domantas Sabonis had 17. Gonzaga beat San Diego 82-60 last night. Closing out the regular season at BYU tomorrow night, opportunity to earn at least a share of the conference title. We'll have that game for you on the radio, 4:40 the pregame, 5 o'clock the tip. The WCC tournament starts on the 3rd, goes through that first weekend in March. Then they'll have a weekend off as everybody gets all the other tournaments wrapped up so we can find out where our brackets will end up, with March Madness starting on the Ides of March. That's the middle of March, March 15th. In ladies collegiate basketball, Washington State cruised past Colorado 83-70, and Washington passed Utah 73-60. South Puget Sound Community College's basketball teams are getting closer to the playoffs. Sports director Sean Wells has highlights from Wednesday's games on our sports page on iFiberOneNewsRadio.com. And in golfing news, Honda Classic is going on this weekend. Gig Harbor's Kyle Stanley tied for 80 with a 3 over par 73. 8 strokes behind co-leaders Sergio Garcia and Michael Thompson. Tees off at 10:25 our time this morning in the Honda Classic. 7:38 at iFIBER ONE News Radio.
I'm Carol with the weather. It's 32 and clear. It'll become cloudy this afternoon, and we're going to have some rain today and tonight. Should clear up in the morning, but it'll be mostly cloudy skies. We'll reach a high of 54 tomorrow, and we're going to head back to rain on Sunday, just barely reaching a high of 50. We should see a high of almost 60 today, and right now it's 32.
Now, from the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You, from business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Well, good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER 1, 739. Dr. Alex Apostle coming in at 8:15 from the Shelton School District. He's our superintendent and was in front of a large crowd last night talking about some things. A question was brought up about replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School. Not in the cards, he says. A little too much of a tax burden. There is it's about 60 to 80 million, depending on building a school, and that puts them above what you can ask for, I think, on these levies and things like that. So they are looking to make improvements.
Right. And the school board's having a retreat this weekend. And so the discussion of a bond or a levy election proposal will be the first thing that they're going to address.
They still have to talk about this stuff because we have no idea what the legislature, if anything, if they're going to do anything.
Right.
They have, because that was one of the things, is that the burden for the levy systems in the municipalities is harder. It should be a more statewide thing.
Right.
And so they got to still go with these things because they don't know what else to do. They're really in a hovering pattern.
I mean, the Mountain View Elementary School, Apostle said, needs to be renovated or replaced, and that could cost $25 million. I mean, it's just crazy. So he said that, the levy proposal provides public funding to run the district, and a voter-approved bond would support improvement projects such as new construction or upgraded construction. So they are going to discuss that this weekend, and then they'll have more information.
Okay. He's also got a big announcement he wouldn't share with us last Friday, but he'll be in at 8:15 in just about a half an hour. Also, Don Pinnell with Radio Real Estate. More local news.
Cascade Natural Gas crews will be working on relocating a natural gas line, and it'll cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton, and that's going to begin on Monday.
Okay.
So drivers on South 1st Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning at 7, and they don't know really how long it's going to last. It's until the project is complete. It could be until late March.
So we're talking about the bridge near Neeland Park
the
coming into
Goldsboro
town.
Creek Bridge.
So you can either take the city center exit.
Just
that
go
way.
up towards
You just won't
the
be able to get through
Dunsbury
town.
exit.
Okay. That story is on the...
It'll be delayed one-way traffic. You can get through town. Right. It's just going to be a little bit longer.
A little bit of a headache. Okay. That full story on iFiber1newsradio.com. Later, what else is going on there?
Well, the State Department of Commerce has selected Mason County as one of the 3 counties to participate in a 100-day challenge to end family homelessness.
Wow.
That's pretty ambitious. Calais and Thurston counties were also selected for the challenge, and it's to include efforts to end homelessness by allocating money and resources to rapid new home building, landlord relationship building, and for sheltering the homeless, give more access to permanent housing, more family engagement, and improving connections.
100 days.
Yeah.
Not for all homeless families is what you're saying.
Yeah, Tammy Newton, Human Services Coordinator for Mason County Public Health and Human Services, says they know there are opportunities for improvement, and it's exciting to work with a team that has a proven track record to help counties gain new levels of success.
Well, hey, good luck.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn impressive. 7:43, Paul Allen is back in the news, right? His boat kind of screwed up the coral reef down in the Cayman Islands. We'll talk about that story. And there are these bills that people are getting in Illinois. It's amazing.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber 1 News Radio.
Having a new baby this year? If you just got the exciting news, Mountain View Women's Health has some more good news for you. The best prenatal and delivery care you could ask for is close to home and family. Mountain View Women's Health and the Birth Center at Mason General Hospital offer excellent care to make your prenatal and birth experience wonderful. Among the many great features is the personalized birthing plan that includes your choice of pain management from epidural to natural birth. For more information, call Mountain View Women's Health at 426-0955.
Mason General Hospital and family of clinics. Equal opportunity provider. Translation services provided.
Mason General and family of clinics.
Understanding your finances is a key to a strong financial future. Don't be the one who gets left behind. Visit feedthepig.org for tools and tips to get started on the path to financial stability. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for a new venue to watch your favorite sports, come check out the El Serape Cantina. Take in the classy Day of the Dead ambiance and enjoy your favorite sports on the large projector screen or 4K Ultra HD TVs. Warm up by the fire or shoot some pool on the beautifully crafted pool tables. Join the Cantina for Dollar Taco Tuesdays and bring out your inner rock star on Karaoke Wednesdays. With so much to offer, the Cantina is the place to be. Located on Railroad in downtown Shelton, right next to the El Serape restaurant.
This is Steve Kramer from Kramer Tackle with this week's fishing report. The steelhead fishing has been downright good this last week, and I expect it to carry on through the weekend unless we get a bunch of rain that punches everything out. I would spend my time concentrating on the Wainuchi or the Satsuma. Both are fairly close to home and are putting out lots of fish. The only problem is they're pretty crowded. If you do go, I would consider drift fishing bait, drift fishing pink worms, throwing spoons, or pulling plugs if you're in a boat. If you want to go for a little longer drive, I would hit the Olympic Peninsula, and I would consider hitting the Soul Duck, the Boga Shield, or the Kalawa. All of them putting out good fish. I know of a 27-pounder that came out of the Soul Duck Saturday and a 24 that came out of the Kalawa on Sunday. So there's big fish being had right now. If you want to hit Southwest Washington, I'd probably spend my time on the Cowlitz. It's been starting to produce decent numbers. So if you can, please take a kid fishing and make sure you check out the recreations page at iFiber1.com. And don't forget my site, KramerTackleandGuide.com. This has been Steve Kramer. Thanks for listening and good fishing.
Time now for your latest KMAS ski report. One more nice sunny day at the slopes with soft spring conditions. Then the wet weather moves in, but that eventually becomes snow, especially as you get towards the summits of Summited Snoqualmie, West Central, and Alpental. All three of them have action under the lights tonight. May need to be weatherproof for night skiing. Summit East returns on Saturday. Crystal Mountain expecting some snow during the weekend, especially the second part, and they should get at least a few inches. Right now they're on 56 trails, some soft spring snow and some packed powder too. Mission Ridge is skiing on 43 trails, so they're still 100%. Snowpack runs at 4 to 5 feet, and Stevens Pass on all 50 trails, and they groom out most of them to get that nice smooth corduroy that softens when temperatures warm up. Mount Baker on 38 trails covering 1,000 acres. Sun Valley, Idaho, 117 packed powder trails and snow showers Saturday. I'm Chuck Devine for KMAS News Radio 1030 and FM 103.3.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
.47 at iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
It is a Friday.
I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Jeff.
So we've got some stories to pass along. One about Washington State's not the only one going through budget struggles, and the sessions are going on. It's all across the country. We'll have a story out of Illinois, which is causing some folks, some motorists, some big fines and big problems. Pretty interesting story. First, though, we're going to fly on down to Georgetown in the Cayman Islands. Company founded by billionaire Paul Allen, and the Cayman Islands have agreed on a plan to restore a coral reef damaged by his 300-foot yacht in January. Allen's Vulcan Incorporated, the British territory, say they'll begin work on Tuesday. Cost hasn't been disclosed. Anchor chain from the MV Tatoosh apparently damaged the reef in January on the 14th. Allen was not on board at the time.
I have a friend,
please,
a source that tells me the amount that was destroyed was sort of blown out of proportion. It wasn't as much as they had reported.
Sounds like your source could be in the Allen camp.
I can't tell you where my source is.
Well, I mean, if it was an environmentalist, you think they're going to tell you that?
Maybe not. Maybe they would be factual. You never know. You don't know.
You're right.
Maybe I was down there. Who knows?
Maybe you were. There's a push in Illinois to help. This is an amazing story. There's a push in Illinois to help drivers after budget cuts have left many folks driving with expired license plates without them knowing. ABC's Ryan Burrows reporting on this from Chicago.
Due to Illinois' budget impasse, the state has stopped sending out notices of expiring license plates and emissions tests. It's supposed to save the state just under $500,000 a year, but driving with an expired license plate, even if you don't realize it, results in a $20 fine. The state's already pulled in more than $1 million in fines compared to the same time last year. One state lawmaker wants to suspend the late fees, calling it unfair to residents living on their own tight budgets. Ryan Burrow, ABC News, Chicago.
So where are we at with this one? Is this a personal responsibility story? Is this a failure of notification story?
No.
Does the Illinois have to send out these notices?
I don't think they should have to.
We've been over this when it comes to driver's licenses. Is your driver's license expired? Well, shoot, I never look at my driver's license and the expiration date. I didn't know it was expired. I never got anything in the mail.
Yeah, but it's your responsibility.
You think so?
Yeah. Why should the government have to tell you to look at your driver's license to know if it's expired, or look at your plates to know if they're expired? I mean, what? I mean, really? You think that it's the government's responsibility to tell you that?
Well, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Let me think about this a little bit. Explain to me more a little bit why you're talking about this.
Well, because if you put plates in if you're going to be driving a car around and you have to go through all these things, you have to have your plates, you have to have your driver's license, you have to have your emissions check, whatever. You should be responsible for knowing when it's due and when it's not due. It's like paying any of your bills. If the bank or your utility doesn't send you a statement, is it your fault that you're not paying on time? If to me, it's just your responsibility.
That's a very good point, Carol. I never thought about it that way.
Well,
so that it saves them $500,000 a year. So they're already up that. Mm-hmm. And now they're getting $1 million more. So they're already plus $1.5 million.
Yeah.
So maybe this was this done
thought out
knowingly to hurt people with tight budgets, as the guy was saying?
I don't think it was knowingly done to. I mean, I would hope they didn't go, oh, those people don't have any money, let's hit them harder.
Sure.
Let's just stop sending out these notices to save money. Hopefully people are responsible enough to get their plates,
right,
renewed.
When does your driver's license expire?
In August.
No, you know that?
My plates. My plates.
Yeah, no, your driver's license.
I just had it done in October, so it's 4 years in October, or 6 years, or whatever it is.
See, you don't know.
Yeah, but I wouldn't go, oh, I didn't know. It's like if you have a doctor's license and you have to get renewed. Oh, I forgot to check, have an expired doctor's license, and you want them operating on you?
That's true. I guess if you can't do that, what else can you do? All right, I can see that.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
Longer daylight hours seem to make everyone a little more cheerful. As we leave the year's darkest months behind, we share some more good news from the Old Farmer's Almanac. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report for Friday, February 26th, the 57th day of the year. Comedy legend Jackie Gleason was born 100 years ago, and country music icon Johnny Cash would have turned 84 today. You've surely noticed the days growing longer recently, and the rate of increase will only pick up speed in the weeks to come. That's good news for those who struggle with depression brought on by a deficit of light. And here's more good news. Light therapy, a standard treatment for seasonal depression, appears to be an effective treatment for non-seasonal depression. A carefully controlled study found that light therapy is often as effective as medication. It's much safer than a drug, too, with fewer side effects. That is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Learn more and get our advice of the day online at almanac.com.
Hi guys, Kat here with iFIBER ONE Newsradio. What if I told you that radio advertising is far more effective than print media? Think about all of your customers driving to work, appointments, or events, all the while listening to the radio. Imagine your commercial airs on iFIBER ONE Newsradio and the customer decides, hey, I'm right by there. I'm going to go check it out. Radio captures you and literally speaks to you and your customers several times a day. This enables you to build a unique message that reminds your customers what you have to offer. Remember, your customers can either drive to you or through you. And here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, we want to direct customers to you. Being the only talk radio formatted station in the entire South Sound region, we have an entire new market for your business to advertise in. As your sales lady, I take pride in providing your business with the best advertising because I want your business to succeed. So call me today at 360-463-2558 and ask for Kat.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
7:54 at iFIBER ONE News Radio and AM 1030 and FM 1033. Also streaming online around the world, iFiberOneNewsRadio.com. You can also watch the show this morning. I'm Jeff Lakey along with Carol Gardner. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Jeff.
All right, you remember, you know who Erin Andrews is? She is a sports reporter on ABC and ESPN. She's a sideline reporter. She was also on Dancing with the Stars. A couple years ago, she was involved in just a terrible situation. So she's in a hotel room and staying in Nashville. She's in Tennessee for something. She's staying in a hotel room. And it turns out that this guy finds out which hotel room is she staying in. She's in 601. He's in 602. Goes over and is able to somehow reverse the peephole on her door. Reverse the people. So now instead of her inside the hotel room looking out to see who's there, people can look in the peephole and see what's going on in the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's horrible.
Right. First, that's horrible. Second, it gets worse. She's in her hotel room, presumably alone and not being looked at by folks. She's an attractive lady and she's in front of the millions of folks every day. People know who she is. So this person starts to film her or take photos through the peephole, and she is in compromising undress, and these photos get on the internet. And now it has come to trial. Finally, after so many years, it's come to trial, and it is so super emotional for her, obviously, to have to go through this. She was away from the media for a little bit after this event, but she's come back in full force, and she's on, you see her on Fox. I think she works with, Troy and Joe Buck on those kind of football games, and she's all over the place. So she's really stepped it above and tried to put this behind her. Well, the case is ongoing. And a secret video, as I was mentioning, is all part of the evidence shown to jurors yesterday. She's now with ESPN, who is the parent company of ESPN is ABC, and ABC is where we get this story. So we have that all out there. ABC's Ava Pilgrim has more on this from Nashville.
On Monday, we are expecting to hear from the stalker himself about what he did, how he did it. They spent a good time in court arguing about what we could and could not hear from him in preparation for Monday. We will also hear from Erin Andrews' mother, who will testify to the emotional distress that this caused her daughter. And we will also hear from Erin Andrews herself.
Speaking of the emotion, here's Eva with a little bit more on this.
Erin actually left the courtroom just seconds before it happened. She got up and quickly ran out. We saw her as she was exiting the courtroom, clearly, bothered by the video being played. She was wiping her eyes and walking very quickly. When she returned to the courtroom after it was played, she was sniffling, wiping her eyes again.
And this is on the internet. And anybody can search for this, and it is all on the internet, and it's going to be very hard, if not impossible almost, to have this go away and be out of her life forever. A $75 million lawsuit on this one.
Yeah, so she's suing the Marriott where she had stayed, but I mean, because she can get money from them, because how much negligence is it? I mean, how much are they really in fault?
The guy asked, apparently, allegedly, where she was staying, and they gave her the information and put him up next to her.
Oh, so they actually gave out her name, which you are not supposed to do.
I believe, he knew where she was, what room she was in.
Right.
He stayed in a room right near where she was staying, so he could get through and figure out how to switch this peephole. I don't even know how you flip out a peephole like that without getting inside her room. Because when I've looked at peepholes, it's like they're two pieces. One goes on the outside of the door, one goes on the inside of the door, and then they smack together in the middle where the hole is, and that's where it combines.
Well,
I think. I don't know.
If so, maybe a housekeeper was there and the room was open and he got in, and they obviously don't have cameras in the hallway to look at this.
I doubt they would. It's just nothing against Nashville, but it's just a Nashville hotel and whatever. So these people are going to have to, I believe the money and these outrageous amounts of money are so that it doesn't happen again.
Right.
There's no other way to get them to get responsible unless you ding them super duper hard on this, $75 million. So they go, whoa, we better not let this happen again because I'm still writing a check for this amount. It's not like she needs the money. She's doing quite well for herself, and she was on Dancing with the Stars and all that.
So the stalker, he's in 2.5 years of prison so far.
Yeah.
I wonder how long he's gonna stay in there.
Yeah, potential for a big case of this. Continuing on, that's what's happening. 8 o'clock, and good morning to you.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
The Chad Benson Show, live weekdays from 3 to 6 on iFIBER ONE News Radio, AM 1030 and FM 1033, KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. The Kansas cop who gunned down the shooter firing at coworkers in a lawnmower factory likely saved scores of other lives, according to Harvey County Sheriff T. Walsh.
This man was not going to stop shooting. The only reason he stopped shooting is because that officer stopped the shooter.
But before he was fatally shot, he killed 3 colleagues and wounded 14 others. ABC's Clayton Sandell tells us a domestic dispute may have been the trigger.
About an hour and a half after getting that restraining order, Ford allegedly then went on a shooting spree, first opening fire at random drivers, wounding one man in the shoulder, another driver in the leg. Minutes later, he headed to Excel Industries where he worked, shooting one person in the parking lot before entering the industrial plant and beginning to shoot at all of his coworkers.
Political sparks flew at last night's Republican debate in Houston. Marco Rubio says he blasted Donald Trump, accusing him of bankrupting businesses and hiring illegals because he couldn't stand by and let a con man hijack the Republican Party.
My whole life I've had to fight, and I'm going to fight now, because there is no way that the party of Reagan and the conservative movement, I'm going to allow it to be taken over by a con artist. He says I'm a choker. He's a con artist.
But ABC News political analyst Matthew Dowd says Trump still leads in the polls.
I think the only thing that could hurt Donald Trump is if, in the aftermath of the debate, some of the allegations that they made and the attacks they made stick over the next 3 days. That's the only way. Not in the moment of the debate, but in the aftermath of the debate.
Attention new parents. Evenflow is recalling 56,000 child car seats with potentially faulty loose harnesses that can raise the risk of injury in a crash. Cheryl Teagues is not applauding Sport Illustrated's decision to put a plus-sized model on the cover of some of its swimsuit issues, saying it's inappropriate to promote an unhealthy lifestyle, though she thinks the cover girl is beautiful. Host Chris Rock just posted a cryptic tweet about the upcoming Oscars, a 15-second clip of black and white TV static with the hashtag Blackout Oscars. This is ABC News.
Advance Auto Parts knows what makes a car guy a car guy. It's working through the unexpected surprises that spring up with every project. It's character, and it isn't rattled by a little thing like a dead battery, especially when you can get a new one online at advanceautoparts.com and pick it up in store just 30 minutes later. We'll even install it for free, so you can get back to fixing faster. Advance Auto Parts, for guys who love getting under the hood.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
Control, do you like mortgages? Negative, over. Do you like rockets? Affirmative, over. Do you like rocket mortgages? I'm listening, over. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that turns the entire mortgage process into a fast, powerful, completely online experience. Copy that, QL1. I'm going to go ahead and push this button in 3, 2, 1. Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket. Equal housing letter. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS Consumer Access.org number 33.
Newly released emails reveal that aides to Michigan's governor called for Flint's water to be returned to its original source back in the fall of 2014. ABC's Ryan Burrow has the fallout.
According to the Detroit News, an email sent October 14th of 2014 by Deputy Legal Counsel and Senior Policy Advisor to the governor, Valerie Brader, urged returning Flint's water back to the Detroit source. Brader calling the water problem an urgent matter to fix. Another member of the governor's legal counsel echoed the sentiments in an email sent just minutes later. The idea was rejected by Flint's state-appointed emergency manager. The water was not flipped back to the old source until a year later. Ryan Burrow, ABC News.
Mark Zuckerberg reportedly fired off an email reprimand to Facebook workers who are normally encouraged to write on the walls at the company's California offices after someone erased the phrase Black Lives Matter and replaced it with All Lives Matter. In his missive, Zuckerberg told employees such actions have been a deeply hurtful and tiresome experience for the Black community. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Mary Lynn Foster. During a community forum last night about levies and bonds, School District Superintendent Alex Apostle took a question about the likelihood of replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School.
I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school, and our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million in total. One of the things that Sally and I have talked about, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers.
Instead, Apostle voiced support for making improvements at all Shelton school facilities. The superintendent said he would know more once he receives direction from the Shelton School Board, which is meeting at 8 tomorrow morning for a retreat at the district's administrative offices at 200 South 1st Street. The meeting is open to the public. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing 51-year-old man. Greg M. King was reported missing by his mother on February 14th. King was last seen on February 4th in the 300 block of Sunnyside Road near the shack where he lived. The Sheriff's Office says at the time he indicated he was possibly going fishing in the area. King is described as 6'2" and weighs 155 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. You can see pictures of him on our website at iFIBER1newsradio.com. If you know of King's whereabouts or have any information regarding his disappearance, contact the Sheriff's Office or call 911. Cascade Natural Gas crews working on relocating a natural gas line will cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton beginning Monday. Doug Adamson, spokesman for the State Department of Transportation, says drivers on South 1st Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning Monday morning. Delays caused by alternating one-way traffic could last from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. until the project is complete. The work is anticipated to continue until late March. As an alternative route, Shelton City Engineer Mike Michael says motorists can take Johns Prairie Road to State Route 3 to Bremerton. Researchers say drugs that have contaminated water near sewage treatment plants have found their way into Puget Sound salmon. Drugs ranging from cocaine to ibuprofen to Prozac, along with toxins that include insect spray, have shown up in the tissue of juvenile Chinook. NOAA environmental toxologist Jim Metter says the problem could be related to processes used at the wastewater treatment plants. Metter says the results were based on samples tested in September 2014 in the Bremerton and Tacoma areas. For iFIBER ONE Newsradio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
The Chad Benson Show.
You want to be a billionaire? You find where there's a problem. Then you create a solution to said problem, but you don't cure it. It's not the end all to be all. You continually have to have it. If it's a disease, there's no money in the cure, there's money in the disease. The Democrats, it's about getting voters, just like for the Republicans.
The Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, live weekdays 3 to 6 on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
I'm attorney Harold Carr. During the past 25 years, more than 8,000 people have trusted me to handle their personal injury cases. I understand how an injury can disrupt your life and cause financial hardship for you and your family. At the law firm of Harold Carr, we have 5 attorneys and 19 staff members experienced with negotiating and litigating with insurance companies. So if you feel the insurance company is not dealing with you fairly, call me, Harold Carr. Let us deal with the insurance company so you won't have to.
Car accident? Call Carr or visit us online at haroldcarrattorney.com.
8:09 at iFIBER ONE Newsradio, and a good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. We're looking at sports here on a Friday morning, and woohoo for Friday for sure. Silas Melson scored a career-high 18. Domantas Sabonis had 17. Gonzaga beats San Diego 82-60 last night. A season finale is from BYU coming up tomorrow night. We'll have the game on the radio for you. 4:40 the pregame, and the WCC tournament starts on the 3rd. Collegiate lady basketball, Washington State over Colorado 83-70, and Washington over Utah 73-60. South Puget Sound Community College basketball teams are getting closer to the playoffs. Sports director Sean Wells was at both the games Wednesday and has highlights now on iFiber1newsradio.com. And the Honda Classic started yesterday, going strong down in Florida. And Kyle Stanley from Gig Harbor is participating. And after the first day, he is tied for 80th with 3 over par 73, 8 strokes behind the leader. And he tees off in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's 8:10 here now at iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
And I'm Carl Gardner with the weather. It's 35. It's clear with partly cloudy. There's going to be some rain this afternoon. We're going to reach a high of 55. The weekend's looking Saturday, your best day. High of 55 again with some sun, mostly cloudy though. And Sunday, it looks like it's just going to be rain and possible some thunder showers. So Saturday looks like your good day to get outside.
It's a good day.
Good day. You can get out in the rain if you want, but if you gotta, if you want to have some sun, it's Saturday looking right now, and right now it is 35.
Now, from the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Larry, good morning to you. It's 8:11 here at iFIBER ONE Newsradio, Daybreak. Dr. Alex Apostle out in the lobby, and he'll be in just 2 or 3 minutes here to talk about his big open forum last night in front of a lot of folks, and talking about budgets and levies and bonds and costs to build schools and things like that. Very interesting conversation last night with him. You can read the write-up on iFiber1newsradio.com. Jeff Chu has a story. Downtown Olympia has some fun things for families to do. And I'm just throwing this out there as something to do tomorrow because you were talking about the weather. There's this the Wet Center, which is downtown on Adams Street. There is tomorrow at 2, it says you can discover deep sea legends and learn the real life inspirations for many sea monster myths.
Cool.
I mean, this is right up my alley. Enjoy Create a Creature workshop and design your own Puget Sound inspired marine myth.
Oh, so you could create something like that one show that you watch,
Face Off, right?
Yeah, so you could create probably out of a...
I mean, I'm not going to definitely be as good as those folks, but the Wet Science Center, explore, discover more, free admission. And it's on Adams Street. So, we'll take Kaiser down to the Children's Museum, and there's a lot of fun things to do. The hands-on Children's Museum. But then outside about 2, you don't have to be a member to enjoy some of the stuff outside. There's a couple great free things for families to do, and this caught my eye this morning. So, sea monster myths.
Do you think Kaiser retains the fun places he likes to go yet?
I know that the grandparents took him to the museum the other day, and he walks in there with a little strut like he knows exactly where he's going, and he'll spend the time. He knows exactly where the trains are or whatever. And yeah, we've been there enough, I think, that he knows. And what's amazing to look and see him learning is that before, like me, scatterbrained, like we're going to be here for 5 seconds and here for 5 seconds, and now he's kind of calming down a little and staying at locations longer and interacting with them. It's really amazing to watch. It really is.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Help create healthier futures for kids when you visit Papa Murphy's all this month. Purchase a heart for $1 now through February 29th. All proceeds support healthy cooking and nutrition programs at a local Boys and Girls Club.
Donate today and give kids the tools they need to live healthier tomorrow.
You can help over 1,000 local kids in Western Washington learn about fresh and healthy food choices. Doesn't that make you feel all warm and cheesy? Purchase a heart today.
From the Boys and Girls Club of Western Washington.
And Papa Murphy's. Love at 425 degrees.
Hi, this is Terry Allen with a look at the community calendar on iFIBER ONE News Radio. Nonprofits post your events on iFiberOneNewsRadio.com. The next in the Harston Island Inquiring Minds series is Islam 101, Perceptions, Misconceptions, and Context. A conversation encouraging greater understanding of Islam, its history, and its place in the modern world. It's Sunday the 28th from 2 to 3 at the Harston Community Hall. Doors open at 1:30. Everyone's welcome. For iFIBER ONE News Radio, I'm Terry Allen.
Your small business needs a loyalty rewards program, but email and paper cards are not effective, and using your POS system where you have to do all the work is bad as well. Go mobile. 95% of customers will check your marketing message on their smartphones in the first 5 minutes you send it, and we do all the work for you for under $150 a month. Call Puget Sound Perks today, 253-584-1212, or visit psperks.com. Reward your customers, and they'll reward you back.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
8:15 on a Friday morning, and each Friday at this time, we are happy to welcome and have in studio Dr. Alex Apostle from the Shelton School District. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nice to see you here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You had a big group meeting last night talking about improvements to the school, bonds and levies, and some questions about maybe a new school, and you answered them all yesterday. This was part of your you have these quite often, actually, these meetings.
Community open forums, yes, once a month.
Okay.
Right.
And so folks were there, and you had a good discussion about that. And it turns out you say that about $60 to $80 million these days to build a school.
Yeah.
And that's outside of our levy
right now
cap.
It's beyond our bond capacity, which is about 67 million. But we talked about a lot of different things in terms of levies, which are responsible for day-to-day operation, and then a bond issue that is responsible for capital projects, facilities and those types of things. I have a meeting all day tomorrow with the board. We're going to be discussing a number of items and issues. One of which is going to be a potential bond issue and a levy, of course. But I'm looking forward to the conversation, and we'll see where that takes us. The community forum was not, there weren't a lot of people there, but we had a great discussion about bonds and levies. And before that, I had another meeting with Spanish-speaking families, minority parents, about the fact that we need to do more to support our minority children in our school district. And to make a long story short, we're going to develop a minority parent family advisory committee where we will sit down together and plan out a way to increase support for our minority children. We even scheduled the first meeting for March 24th.
Wow.
So we moved quickly, and it was an exciting meeting for them and for me. And I'm really looking forward to working with the families to do everything we can to ensure that all students, and that means all students in our school district, do well, graduate from high school, and go on and do what they need to do in their life. So this is an important step for the Shelton School District, and I'm very excited about it, and I will keep you up to date as we move forward.
I've had the chance to do some judging at the science fairs over at Evergreen Elementary, and I know that school is heavily into the bilingual.
Right.
Does that continue through the high school level in the Shelton School District?
Well, the Evergreen's doing a great job with English language learners. We are currently in the process of developing a plan K-12 that will support all of our students throughout our system. But that's something that we're going to talk about with the families to ensure that we're doing everything possible to support all kids in our school district. One of the things that's going to be important, and we're starting the budget development process in our school district, is to share that process with the community, because we are transitioning the budget to meet the needs of the 21st century, to meet the changing demographics of our school district. And it's going to take some hard work to make that happen. But it's work that needs to happen. Times have changed, needs have changed, and therefore we need to adjust the budget to try to meet those needs.
Can you give me some examples of what previous budgets included that future budgets may not include?
Well, that's part of the budget development process, is to really examine what programs are working, what programs are not working, and then being able to transition some of those resources to programs that are necessary to do the things that I've just mentioned in terms of our children throughout the system.
So everything's on the table.
Everything is on the table, absolutely.
Interesting. We have a big spring community pride night coming up on March 9th. March 9th. It's a Wednesday night, getting ready for spring sports.
Right, and that's at 5:30, and we're looking forward to that. It's great to be able to recognize our coaches and our athletes, and to have the community involved in launching each sports season. We were going to have a surprise guest, Raul Alegre, a former Shelton High School student and place kicker in the National Football League. In his career, he kicked for the Baltimore Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, the New York Giants, and then New York Jets.
Wow.
And he played in a Super Bowl, and I guess every professional football player that ever played in a Super Bowl got a gold football, and they were going to give it, they were supposed to give it to their high schools that they played at. And he was going to be here to do that for us, but he just can't make it.
Well,
but he can be here in May.
Oh,
cool. We're looking forward to having him in the community in May and honoring him. So, but just the same, the Spring Community Pride Night is an important activity in terms of launching our sports season. And I'm hoping that the entire community will be there to recognize our students and our coaches.
That's pretty cool. And then in May, you get a little closer as the footballers start getting ready for their practices over the summer. They may have a better chance to talk with them. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, we're excited about him being here, so we'll see what happens.
Community Pride Night, again, March 9. It is coming up in 2 Wednesdays from now, and it's going to be at the
Shelton High School.
At the high school.
At 5:30.
Very nice. And then we just had our sports director, Sean Wells, up talking with Coach Youngquist, who got the 3A
Coach of the Year.
Swim of the Year coach.
Yeah, that's remarkable. He does a great job. He deserves the honor.
Yeah.
No doubt. Very quickly,
Yes.
I just want to thank and congratulate the Mountain View staff and their leadership team. And they're in the process of selecting a new principal. And I can tell you, we haven't selected the person yet, but they have established very high standards and expectations for the new principal. Kara Lake is retiring, the current principal, and the staff at Mountain View has really taken an active role in the process to select a new principal. So I'm very thankful that they're very serious about it, and they're out there looking for the very best.
Dr. Alex Apostle, weekly on iFIBER One News Radio. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have a good weekend. Enjoy your all-day retreat tomorrow.
Thank you.
8:21. We'll take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll have some more stories from the Northwest and beyond on iFIBER One News Radio. It's 8:22. Stock numbers, radio real estate, and Tom Hartman's up at 9.
listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Looking for a more exciting place to play? Discover the newly expanded gaming floor and awesome new sports bar at Lucky Eagle Casino. You'll find hundreds of new machines on the floor, plus 20 HD TVs, a huge big screen, 35 beers on tap, and great food in the sports bar. So what are you waiting for? Come get your game on at Lucky Eagle Casino and Hotel, I-5 to exit 88, Rochester, Washington. Now more than ever, where you belong. Details at luckyeagle.com.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tobert, your advertising consultant from iFIBER ONE Newsradio. Are you missing customers because you only market to a specific group? iFIBER ONE Newsradio can help you hit a larger group of buyers with our diverse audience. We are 24 hours of local and national breaking news, award-winning talk radio, and primetime sports, including local high school sports. What does this mean to you? This means our listeners listen longer to entire programs and don't switch to another station when a commercial comes on. Our coverage in the Puget Sound area, it's over 500,000 listeners, including Mason County, Thurston County, Grace Harbor County, King, Pierce, Joint Base Lewis McCourt, and Kitsap County to the Bremerton Naval Base. All advertising is 100% tax deductible. So how can you afford not to advertise? Call me, Mark Tobert, at iFIBER ONE News Radio to become a total audience plan advertiser. Just call 360-426-1030.
iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
Well, good morning to you. It's Daybreak at iFIBER One News Radio. I'm Jeff Lakey along with Carol Gardner at 8:24. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I'm well, thanks. Got a tweet out from Evergreen State College. Looks like their campuses and classes canceled today.
And the Olympia.
The Olympia campus. Water and power outage.
Interesting. We'll have some more. We will look for some more information on that.
Well, but I had power at my place, which is near Evergreen.
Yeah, you are near, but you're not connected to the campus.
Not on the grid. 8:25 here at iFIBER One News Radio. The morning stock numbers coming up in a few moments. This Monday, if you're going to be up in Seattle or near Seattle, jeez, one of the biggest ships to ever enter American waters is going to be in Seattle on Monday. The Benjamin Franklin container ship, 1,300 feet long, 180 feet wide. This thing can hold 18,000 containers. It's going to be in Seattle on Monday. Ship recently called at the port of Long Beach, California. It unloaded 13,000 containers, and that's more than twice the typical container ship to go to that large California port. When it heads to Seattle, Puget Sound pilots will bring it in. They're going to board at Port Angeles and then guide it towards the berth at the Port of Seattle, right? Because, and this is a great job if you can get it. Mm-hmm. You learn the intricacies of the strait, like the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and then when you come on down, where it's 800 feet deep, where it's 806 feet deep. If you know that stuff, people call on you to come help bring those ships in. That's a great job. The ship heads into the port, as I mentioned. They'll hop on it at PA and guide it towards the berth. The Puget Sound Pilots Organization has been training senior pilots in a simulator to practice bringing these giant-sized ships. Again, 1,300 feet long. 3, 6, 9, 12. That's like 4.5 football fields long and 180 feet wide.
Have you ever been on a boat on a river and been past some of these humongous boats? Ships.
I mean, I've been on a big cruise ship before. And so when you go into port or whatever, right before you get on, you look up and you are just amazed by the size of these things.
Yeah.
It was, in San Diego, I went on the Midway aircraft carrier that was so pivotal in the war, the Second World War. And before you get on, I mean, it's all metal. So first off, you're like, how on earth can metal and this much of it float? And then you just think of the people that are on there and the airplanes that are on there and the crew. It is amazing to see.
It is amazing.
Things.
I was on the Columbia River once on a boat, a small boat, and we went to the inland, and that's where all the big, huge ships were. I mean, you're like the smallest.
Oh, it's the tiniest thing ever.
It is so weird.
They're huge. On the phone line this morning from Edward Jones, Karen Shade.
Good morning.
How are you?
Huge? I didn't listen.
Oh, we were talking about this, this container ship that's going to be in Seattle on Monday.
Yeah.
It's 1,300 feet long. So it's about 4.5 football fields long, 880 feet wide. So we were just thinking about standing next to these type of ships. They're just so
you'd be
big.
an ant.
No, they're huge.
Oh my gosh. Is that one of the biggest ones ever?
It says it is the biggest ship ever to enter American waters.
Wow. It's coming from China, let me guess.
I think it started there. It was down in Long Beach, California, and then it's up here. It'll be here on Monday. So if you're in Seattle on Monday, you can check this thing out.
I'm flying out Monday, so maybe.
You'll see it. Yeah. You'll see it from the plane.
I bet.
It'll be huge.
That's like almost a city.
Yeah.
I mean, a small town.
Yeah. It's gigantic.
Wow.
What's going on with Wall Street this week?
Well, U.S. stocks advanced at the open on positive economic data and news from China. Comments from China's central bank suggested it may further monetary easing have boosted oil and energy stocks. And economic news reports showed the economic slowdown in the fourth quarter was less severe than estimated. A separate report showed that U.S. consumers increased their spendings to start the year with the support of stronger income gains. Bond prices are lower this morning on the strength in equity markets. So far this morning, the S&P 500, the best performing sector is basic materials, while the worst performing sector is utilities. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 37 points at 16,735. The Standard & Poor's 500 index is up 7 points at 1,958, and the NASDAQ Composite Index is up 22 points at 4,604. This morning, volume on the New York Stock Exchange is high with 292 million shares being traded, and advancers are outnumbering decliners by roughly 5-2 margin. In the commodity markets, the spot price of gold is down $18.18 to $1,214.85. The spot price of silver is down 44 cents to $14.70, and crude oil prices are up 74 cents to $33.81. In the bond markets, the 30-year Treasury yield is currently 2.64%, and the 10-year Treasury yield is 1.77%. Stocks of local interest: Amazon is up $1.93, Costco is down $4.01, Boeing is up $1.82, Starbucks is down 44 cents, and Microsoft is down 91 cents. This is Karen Shade of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and long-term financial advice. I'm located at 1051 Southeast State Route 3 in Shelton. If you'd like additional information, you can contact me at 426-4590, and daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
All right, Karen, have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
8:31 at iFIBER ONE News Radio, the latest in local news, brought to you right now by Fred Holmes Tree Service.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. During a community forum last night about levies and bonds, School District Superintendent Alex Apostle took a question about the likelihood of replacing the 40-year-old Shelton High School.
I will tell you that building a new high school is probably not in the cards. It's $60 to $80 million to build a high school, and our bonding capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $67 million. In total. One of the things that Sally and I have talked about, we've got to be respectful of our taxpayers.
Instead, Apostle voiced support for making improvements at all Shelton school facilities. The superintendent said he would know more once he receives direction from the Shelton School Board, which is meeting at 8 tomorrow morning for a retreat at the district's administrative offices at 200 South 1st Street. The meeting is open to the public. The Mason County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in finding a missing 51-year-old man. Greg M. King was reported missing by his mother on February 14th. King was last seen on February 4th in the 300 block of Sunnyside Road near the shack where he lived. The Sheriff's Office says at the time he indicated he was possibly going fishing in the area. King is described as 6'2" and weighs 155 pounds. He has brown eyes and brown hair. You can see pictures of him on our website at iFIBER1Newsradio.com. If you know of King's whereabouts or have any information regarding his disappearance, contact the sheriff's office or call 911. Cascade Natural Gas crews working on relocating a natural gas line will cause delays on State Route 3 in Shelton beginning Monday. Doug Adamson, spokesman for the State Department of Transportation, says drivers on South First Street in Shelton may encounter daytime delays beginning Monday morning. Delays caused by alternating one-way traffic could last from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. until the project is complete. The work is anticipated to continue until late March. As an alternative route, Shelton City Engineer Mike Michael says motorists can take Johns Prairie Road to State Route 3 to Bremerton. Researchers say drugs that have contaminated water near sewage treatment plants have found their way into Puget Sound salmon. Drugs ranging from cocaine to ibuprofen to Prozac, along with toxins that include insect spray, have shown up in the tissue of juvenile Chinook. NOAA environmental toxologist Jim Metter says the problem could be related to processes used at the wastewater treatment plants. Metter says the results were based on samples tested in September 2014 in the Bremerton and Tacoma areas. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Mary Lynn Foster.
At Mason PUD3, we know that time changes all things, like phone numbers, mailing addresses, and email addresses, even names. PUD3 needs your correct account information for emergency contacts and online security. To make this fun, all PUD3 customers who update or confirm their account information by April 27th will have their names placed into a drawing for a free iPad mini. Go to masonpud3.org/account to learn more.
Record-setting night for Curry. Spurs keep rolling, and they feared the beard in Portland. Hi, everybody. Todd Ant reporting on sports. After a tight finish in South Florida, the Warriors took their talents to Orlando with a much easier finish, thanks to you-know-who.
Curry pump fake, layup, and top it good, and Curry's got 51 points. First Warrior with 3 50-point games since Rick Barry in 73-74.
On KNBR, Curry made 10 three-pointers and set a league mark with 128 consecutive games with at least 1 3. Golden State knocked off Orlando 130-114. The Spurs also playing back-to-back games as they travel to Salt Lake City.
Out to Parker, left wing 3 for Tony. Trey the end. Tony Parker with a big three-pointer. And the Spurs lead by 16, and Parker's got 16.
On WOAI, San Antonio 96-78 winners over the Jazz. Kawhi Leonard 29. And a big night for the Beard.
Picks up that dribble, goes into a cutting Harden to the rim, layup good. Another 40-point game for Harden.
On KBME, James Harden 46 points, and Houston rallied to beat the Blazers in Portland 119-105. In New Orleans, a solid night for Anthony Davis, who scored 30 but got lots of help from his bench.
Holiday launches a 3 and buries it off the left angle.
On WRNO-FM, Ryan Anderson, Drew Holiday, and Tony Douglas combined for 60 points off the bench. The Pelicans hold off Oklahoma City 123-119. To the NHL, a stunning victory for Nashville in Chicago.
Chalmerson picks the puck up and given back down by Yarncrook to Fisher, and the shot of the score! Beautiful play! Little give and go off the left side. Fisher to Yarncrook.
On 105.2, the game, and the Predators beat the Blackhawks, the third best team in the league, 3-1. In Los Angeles, a late Kings goal sealed the deal.
Carter towards the tops of the circles. He takes a shot, deflected, score!
On KABC, the Kings crown the Oilers 2-1. Top 25 college hoops, Duke, Indiana, Utah, and SMU all winners. And Chicago White Sox and Bulls minority owner and television sports icon Eddie Einhorn has died. He was 80 following complications from a stroke. Todd Ant, ABC Sports.
The craziness is returning to the kennel.
Wiltshire behind his back with a dribble, and he scores. Got Tarnowski to his left, pulls up, shoots, scores, and a foul.
Zags basketball from IMG.
Corner, Nelson driving, baseline, and a two-handed throw down dunk. Oh my goodness, Silas Nelson.
From tip-off to the final buzzer.
And throws it down with 2 hands.
Follow the action all season long on your home for Bulldogs basketball, the Gonzaga IMG Sports Network.
In sports in a second, I posted some photos of this gigantic Ben Franklin cargo ship thing, and I'll have some stats for you on our Facebook page, facebook.com/1030KMAS. And this thing is
crazy.
As Bernie and Trump might say, it's huge. Silas Melson scored a career-high 18. Domantas Sabonis had 17, and Gonzaga beats San Diego 82-60 last night. Closes the season at BYU tomorrow night. Gonzaga does. We've got the game for you on the radio. Pre-game at 4:40, tip at 5. The WCC tournament gets underway on March 3rd, that Thursday. And then March Madness, NCAA time, the tourney getting underway on the 15th. Women's collegiate basketball, Washington State over Colorado and Washington over Utah. Honda Classic going on. Gig Harbor's Kyle Stanley is partaking, and he's tied for 80th currently with a 3-over par 73. He tees off at 10:25 our time and is 8 strokes behind co-leaders Sergio Garcia and Michael Thompson. Just weeks away from Augusta and the Masters as things get underway. Heard reports that Tiger Woods was, in one sense, not even able to sit upright in a car, but then he posted a video of him doing a 3/4 swing with a 9-iron at a golf simulator, in a computer golf simulator, and it looked as though he could swing that, but a 9-iron in a air-conditioned computer simulator is nothing like walking Augusta for 4 days in the Masters and swinging the long clubs. So, regardless of what Tiger Woods does in the rest of his career on the golfing circuit, if he's able to play around with his kids, that's fine with me. Whatever. I think he's about done, though.
Well, has he made enough money? Is he going to write a book? Has he written a book?
He's probably got like 30 books on how to golf, and I think he's made he's done pretty well for himself. He can
move on and do something different. Maybe he'll run for president.
There's the stranger things have happened and are happening. South Puget Sound Community College basketball getting closer to the playoffs. Sports director Sean Wells has highlights from Wednesday's game on our website. It's 8:39 right now.
I'm Carol with the weather. It's 35 and clear. We're going to have cloudy skies later and some rain this afternoon. We'll reach a high of 55. Tomorrow we should see some sun. We're going to reach, it says 55 again, but we will have some rain in the night, and then Sunday it's going to be raining. So your weekend outlook, a little bit of sun Saturday early, and then mostly rain. Right now it's 35.
Now, from the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
8:40 here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, and a good morning to you. It's a Friday morning, and we were just mentioning about this cargo thing. This biggest ship is gigantic, the CGM Benjamin Franklin. So I found some photos, and it was in San Francisco a while ago, and it somehow made it under the Golden Gate Bridge. This thing is 197 feet tall. Wait, hold on.
Feet tall.
Yeah.
How tall is that?
So how tall is that? Well, you figure that if you talk about buildings that have stories, each story is 10 foot. That's how they do that.
Okay.
So at 190, that's a 20-story building. That's how tall it is. Now think about this. It's in San Francisco, going past, going under the Golden Gate. Alcatraz. If you're looking at Alcatraz, the width of Alcatraz is 1,600 feet. Okay? If you're looking at it. The Benjamin Franklin, this ship, the width of this thing is 1,300 feet. So it almost would eclipse Alcatraz as it moves in front of it. A Boeing 747 is 230 feet. This ship is massive, and it's going to be in Seattle on Monday. So if you're going to be up there, you can definitely, there's people that take tons of pictures around it. I mean, it's a big ship. It's pretty impressive. Way bigger than even the Queen Mary or the George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier. semi-truck. I mean, a car is nothing compared to this thing. It's like 10 times the size, 100 times the size. Was that Don Pennell out there?
Yes.
Don Pennell's Radio Real Estate is coming up in just 3 minutes or so here on iFIBER One News Radio. First, Steve Kramer has a fishing report for us. Chuck Devine heads to the slopes. And we'll be back to find out what's going on in the real estate market around these parts with Don Pennell and Radio Real Estate right here on Daybreak.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
There's no place like home.
The information at your fingertips.
I'm JohnLScott.com.
Contact your John L. Scott Real Estate Specialist. We're here to help.
Welcome home. Hi, I'm Dawn Pennell from John L. Scott Real Estate in Shelton, where we're all about helping you buy or sell your house so you can say, I'm home. Since this is the last show of the year, I thought I would share some statistics with you. I'm not really a big statistics person, but I thought some of these were interesting. First, let's talk about an area market survey for active and sold listings. As of the first part of December, the active listings in Mason County had an average price of $231,839, and they had a median price of $1.
This is Steve Kramer from Kramer Tackle with this week's fishing report. The steelhead fishing has been downright good this last week, and I expect it to carry on through the weekend unless we get a bunch of rain that punches everything out. I would spend my time concentrating on the Wainuchi or the Satsop. Both are fairly close to home and are putting out lots of fish. The only problem is they're pretty crowded. If you do go, I would consider drift fishing bait, drift fishing pink worms, throwing spoons, or pulling plugs if you're in a boat. If you want to go for a little longer drive, I would hit the Olympic Peninsula, and I would consider hitting the Sole Duck, the Boga Shield, or the Kalawa. All of them putting out good fish. I know of a 27-pounder that came out of the Sole Duck Saturday, and a 24 that came out of the Kalawa on Sunday. So there's big fish being had right now. If you want to hit Southwest Washington, I'd probably spend my time on the Cowlitz. It's been starting to produce decent numbers. So if you can, please take a kid fishing and make sure you check out the recreations page at iFiber1.com. And don't forget my site, KramerTackleandGuide.com. This has been Steve Kramer. Thanks for listening and good fishing.
Time now for your latest KMAS ski report. One more nice sunny day at the slopes with soft spring conditions. Then the wet weather moves in, but that eventually becomes snow, especially as you get towards the summits of Summit at Snoqualmie, West Central, and Alpental. All three of them have action under the lights tonight. May need to be weatherproof for night skiing. Summit East returns on Saturday. Crystal Mountain expecting some snow during the weekend, especially the second part, and they should get at least a few inches. Right now they're on 56 trails, some soft spring snow and some packed powder too. Mission Ridge is skiing on 43 trails, so they're still 100%. Snowpack runs at 4 to 5 feet, and Stevens Pass on all 50 trails, and they groom out most of them to get that nice smooth corduroy that softens when temperatures warm up. Mount Baker on 38 trails covering 1,000 acres. Sun Valley, Idaho, 117 packed powder trails and snow showers Saturday. I'm Chuck Devine for KMAS News Radio 1030 and FM 103.3.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Larry, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER 1846. Riveting radio real estate with Don Pennell on the radio. Morning, Don.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
I like that riveting word.
It is riveting.
We're on the edge of our seat.
We love talking about real. It's such an interesting
well, it's so
process.
It is, and it's more of a process than most people realize. So
Yeah.
it's been fun to kind of talk through that. We're in our third installment today of the process, so it's and we're not even done yet. So,
So what is the next step?
Well, we've already talked about you come to me and I do a market analysis, and then last time we talked about setting a price, and so now you've decided that you want me to represent you in selling your house. So now is the time that we get the paperwork. So what I thought I would do today is go through a little bit of that and talk about the first thing that I give you is an exclusive sale and listing agreement.
Okay.
Which is between you and the firm that I work for, in this case, John L. Scott. The firm actually owns the listing, and they are appointing me as their representative. And that the reason we clarify that is because if I ever left that office, more than likely your listing would stay with the office and they would appoint another. The only time we don't do that is if I can make some kind of an agreement with Christy in this case and take the listing with me.
Sure.
But technically, the listing belongs to the agency.
So what if you find a house that is not listed by John L. Scott, but you're the person that we've always worked with? So how does that work then?
Then I become the buyer's representative in that case. We're still talking about the seller's representative. So, yeah.
Okay, I got you. You would just list with one person if you were selling. Okay.
Yes, and technically I can do both, but in practice I try not to because it just gets complicated. Basically what ends up happening is you don't represent either party because you can't share information with either one that would compromise the deal. So I try and do, in fact, I make it a point of doing just one or the other. So once we've made that decision that you would like me to sell your house for you, I give you this exclusive sale and listing agreement, and we fill in the information that has your name and the address of the property, and then we fill in my name as the person who the agency is appointing to sell your house. We fill in a listing date, and it can be anywhere from the date we sign within 30 days. And sometimes we take a week or two to make sure that the house is ready to go and you've done all your cleaning and your painting and all that kind of stuff that you might want to do. So we can fill that date in, and that's the date that the listing will become active. And then we also fill in the commission, and this is the part that a lot of people have questions about. Typically for our office, the total commission is 6% of the selling price of the house. That can be negotiable. I've seen it go anywhere from 5 to 6%. And then I always do a true split of that commission. So what that means is that the total commission is 6%, 3% goes to me, 3% goes to whoever sells the house. So it's confusing a lot of times to folks because the seller of the house is paying the total commission. So they're paying the commission for me to sell the house, but they're also paying the commission for the person who represents the buyer of the house. And that's just that's how that's set up for legally.
Just the kind of the common practice.
That's kind of how it works. Yeah. Okay. So we fill that in, and we make sure that we fill in that information that 3% goes to me. The total is 6, 3% goes to the selling agent. So, and then we also have language in here that talks about short sales and the key box and the multiple listing service that your house will show up on, which is basically, we'll talk about that a little bit more next week, or next time, but it's all of the websites that this listing will go out on where people can see it. And so it's a 2-page document. We fill in all of the blank spaces, and you sign it, I sign it, and I make a copy and give it to you so you have a copy for your records. The next piece of paper that I give you is something that's called an exclusive residential listing input sheet. And I just kind of show you that because it's got all of the information that I'm going to need to put in on the computer when I actually enter your listing in. And it's surprising all the things they ask for. They want to know where the water heater is. They want to know what kind of water heater it is. They want to know what the roof is made of. They want to know what the foundation is made of. They want to know the topography of the lot, all that kind of stuff. A lot of this I can fill in just from my own observation or from county records. But what I'll generally do is kind of just flip through it and show folks what we're dealing with here and tell them that if I run into problems or if I have questions, I might be giving you a call and asking you, hey, what was that siding made of again? You know, those kinds of things. So this is like a 5-page document that has all of that information. And like I said, it's surprising all of the things that they want to know. And the reason it's all in there is because some buyer somewhere along the line asked that question. So we figure, well, we might as well give them as much information up front as we can. And all of it too is how many rooms, where the rooms are they on the first floor, are they on the second floor, does it have an eat-in kitchen, does it have hardwood floors, does it have carpeting, all of those kinds of things that people are going to want to know.
The more information, the better for folks to make those decisions.
Absolutely.
So when I'm looking on a website, if I have not gone, well, even on the John L. Scott website where we can see listings, but if you go to any of these other websites that show mass listings, and it's got that detailed breakout of what school district you're in and the lot size and if there's any parking lot. So you have to input all that information, and that goes into the MLS listing that we'll talk about next time.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, and then when I see, if I go to a house and it looks like something that I might be interested in, there's always a realtor's face there. Because you sign that agreement with them, then that's your face that shows up, right?
Typically, yes. Yeah, most of the time. Not on all sites. It just depends on what their agreement is. But
it's usually the
listing
realtor's
agent.
lister.
Yeah, the listing agent. So that becomes a little confusing sometimes if you're looking to buy a house. If you call me based on seeing my face on that listing, I will more than likely refer you to somebody else in my office, typically, to represent you, to show you the place. I'm more than happy to show you the house.
Sure.
But if you decide you want to make an offer on it, then I need to step back because I'm representing the seller, and you need somebody as the buyer to represent you.
Do you have to? Can you buy on your own, or whatever that would be?
You know, you have to have either a realtor or a lawyer or a title company person involved to draw up the paperwork, because it's all the legal stuff. So I always figure you might as well, as a buyer, have a realtor representing you, because they can walk you through all of that, and they know what papers need to be filled out, and they know who to send everything to. You're not paying for it because as the buyer, because the seller is paying the realtor's commission. So you might as well contact a realtor to help you through that process. And as we'll see when we start talking about the buyer's side of this, it can get complicated too.
If I'm going to sell my house, there would probably be so many things that I never would even think about. And then it could really get you in a bind later down the road.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's surprising. I was surprised when I first got involved at just how much is involved in this kind of stuff.
And it's not like you're just selling something on Craigslist here.
No.
This is a real deal.
No, and it's not just a handshake.
Yeah.
There's a lot of legal documents, because your real property is changing hands. So you need, county records need to be changed. There's a legal deed that needs to be transferred. It can be complicated.
This is all kind of the stuff that you learn at realtor school.
At real estate school, yes.
In addition to that, the code of ethics was another thing that we talked about previously, and there's a bunch of tenets when it comes to that.
Yeah, and I have one more piece of paper to talk about that I will give you, and then I thought I would start going through the little bit of the code of ethics, because it's pretty interesting. So the last paper that I will give you is only a 6-page document, and what it is the seller's disclosure statement about the property. So it's a whole bunch of questions about the property, about the septic system if there is one, about the water system if there is one, any environmental hazards that you know about, any damage to the house you know about, and how that happened. It's your conversation with the buyer of all of the things that you know about the house, and every question you're going to need to answer either yes, no, don't know, or does not apply. So you just go through each question and you say yes to that, no to that, have no idea on that, or it doesn't apply, because there's a section in here about a manufactured home. If you're not selling a manufactured home, you just mark does not apply on all of those. So this goes into the file once you have it all filled out, and when we have a buyer, the buyer gets a copy of that, and they can go through and see what you know about the house. The only time that you don't have to do this is if it's an estate sale, because most of the time, almost all the time, the person who's selling that estate has never lived in the house. So they don't ask you to do that. And sometimes, if it's a bank-owned property, they will be exempt, because, again, for the same reason, they've never lived there. But sometimes even they have to do it if they have information about the house.
So how would you find out that information?
It's just your own knowledge to the best of your the best of your knowledge.
No, if you were, and I know you're doing the selling process, but if you were a buyer and then you were getting a bank-owned house or an estate-owned house,
yes.
How do you know that information is accurate?
You ask your realtor.
Okay, and then so you sort of fact check that?
No. This document is just to the best of the seller's knowledge.
So it couldn't be used like in court if there was something that they knew, but they sort of hedged on it a little bit?
That would be that would be an attorney question that you would need to, if you have a suspicion about that.
The one that pops into my head is if the house is haunted.
There's no question about that.
Disclosure on that? I thought I've heard that before.
Death in the house.
That's not on here either. Those kinds of things are not termed material defects.
Oh.
So you don't have to disclose if somebody died in the house?
You don't.
Do you have to disclose if it was, say, a meth house?
You don't, except if it affected the environmental quality of the house. If you knew something that would affect the health, for lack of a better word, of the house, you would have to disclose that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the buyer really has to be the one that's asking all the questions.
Right. And for the realtor, if the realtor knows something that is a material defect, even that comes up after the fact, maybe say after an inspection of a house, if something comes up and the realtor knows that and it is materially affects the quality of the house, we have to disclose that. Yeah.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.
We have a minute and a half left.
Okay.
So if we could go through one, or we can hold off till the next time if you think we can get through it.
I can do one.
Okay.
So there are 17 articles
of ethics
in this Code of Ethics document. So I thought I'd take one each time and we can kind of go through. So article number 1 is when representing a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, or other client as an agent, realtors pledge themselves to protect and promote the interests of their client. This obligation to the client is primary, but does not relieve realtors of their obligation to treat all parties honestly. When serving a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, or other party in a non-agency capacity, realtors remain obligated to treat all parties honestly.
That's kind of what you were just mentioning about if you knew something about the disclosure that maybe wasn't on there, you have a duty now to put that on. Interesting.
And as a subset, just real quick, of that one, and the reason I want to talk about this is I ran into this just last week. It says that in an attempt to secure a listing, a realtor shall not deliberately mislead the owner as to market value. So I run into problems with that sometimes. I mean, you want the listing, you want somebody to hire you as their agent, but if they're asking you to give either an inflated or a deflated opinion of what the value of that house is, I have a real hard time with that.
Yeah.
So ethically, I for myself can't do that. So somebody asked me the other week, or about a week ago, if I would do a market analysis for a property because they wanted a relative to buy the place and they had to have a fair market value. Well, fair market value was a lot higher than what they wanted to sell it to their relative for. And I just couldn't, even in the interest of getting a listing, say that it's worth this much less when I know that it's worth more. So, and on the other side of it, if somebody wants me to list their house for $500,000 and I know from my market analysis that it's only worth $300,000, I'm going to have to tell them that, hey, based on my research, this is fair market value. So that's, I mean, I don't know if everybody follows those ideas, but I do. And I really, my main thing that I sell to my clients is that I will be honest with you.
Dawn Pinnell, John L. Scott, how do people get in touch with you?
They call me at 490-4493, or they can stop in the office over on Railroad, right behind the clock tower, and I would be more than happy to help them.
It is 9 o'clock, so we're over time. We'll get to the news in a second. Today's the 26th, so we'll see you again on March 11th to talk a little bit more about this.
We will, and we'll talk about what happens when you actually get to a listing at that point.
Excellent. Thank you, Dawn. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It is 9 o'clock here at iFIBER One News Radio. ABC News is happening now, so we'll jump in the middle of that. You are listening to iFIBER One News Radio on KMAS Shelton.
States voting next Tuesday. Flags